Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for the Tech Guy is provided by CacheFly. CacheFly.com. Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast featuring Scott Wilkinson. This show aired on Sunday, October 2nd, 2016. This is episode 1328. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. To download a free audiobook of your choice, go to audible.com/techguy. And by IT Pro TV. IT Pro TV is an easy, entertaining approach to online IT training. For a free 7-day trial and 30% off the life of your account, go to itpro.tv/techguy and use the code TG30.
Hey there, everybody. Scott Wilkinson here, the home theater geek and editor of avsforum.com. I'm filling in for Leo Laporte, the tech guy, who is on his vacation. I understand it's kind of towards the end of his vacation, so I bet you he's feeling about now, oh man, I wish I could stay another week or two. But he'll be back next week, and I'm sure he'll be happy to be back as well in this new studio that we're in. Very cool. And I'm joined today by Jason Snell, who is a longtime podcaster and often a guest at Twit. Jason, welcome.
Thank you, Scott. It's good to be here.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what your interests are.
Sure. So I've been writing primarily about Apple for the last 20 years. I was the editor of Macworld for a little more than a decade. I like to say I got into writing about Apple when it looked like they were going to go out of business. It was really a bad career move that then suddenly Steve Jobs came back and lots of interesting things happened. It turned out to be not a bad career move at all.
Yeah.
And then in my other line of work now, in addition to writing, I do some podcasts. I show up on the Twit network a lot, and I've got a bunch of podcasts at relay.fm and theincomparable.com. So I'm all over the place.
All over the place. And not only about Apple, but you also do at least one show about outer space.
Yeah, I've got a show on Relay called Liftoff, which is Stephen Hackett and I get to talk every other week about space stuff, and we get to interview interesting space people, human people on Earth about space stuff.
Are they spaced out?
Well, in a certain way, yes, I would say. Like literally the definition of lost in space.
Exactly. Well, that's super cool, and I had not known of that podcast, but I'll certainly tune in now because I'm a big space fanatic as well. I'm pretty spaced out, you know.
Yeah, me too. Since I was a kid, since I watched Star Trek when I was 5 years old, I've been into that stuff. Absolutely.
Oh man, and they just had their 50th anniversary.
That's true.
Which was wonderful. I had a great time with that. I of course watched it when it was first out too, and so that pegs us as a certain age, I'd say. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've got a lot of friends who say, "Oh, Star Trek: The Next Generation, that was my thing," and I'm like, "Oh boy, you kids today."
Okay, so I got to ask you.
Yeah.
Kirk or Picard?
I got to go with Captain Kirk because he was the original, and I love Captain Picard too. I'd much rather work for Captain Picard because I think he's a much better manager and runs a tight ship, and I'd probably die phaser blast under Kirk, but
exactly.
He's the one I grew up with.
You'd be a red shirt, probably.
I would try very hard to not wear that red shirt if I could get away with it.
Well, what about home theater, audio, that sort of stuff, video, TVs? Do you get into that much?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, not to your extent. I mean, you definitely are the master there. I remember spending time on the AVS forum a lot when I was getting my first DVR and all of that. I bought the first generation TiVo. That's my claim to fame, and that was one of those things that I had a lot of resistance from my wife about. That she thought this was a ridiculous contraption. She's usually pretty understanding about the tech toys that I bring home. But
you probably bring a lot of them home.
And I do, but that one she was skeptical of, and that turned out to be a real winner. That was very, very quickly we came to really love that. So it was interesting reading that story just a few months ago about how they were officially decommissioning the first generation TiVo because the Rovi couldn't update the software to cover their guide. And I remember thinking, wow, I've gone through like 5 DVRs since then, but I did love that original TiVo when it came out.
Yeah, I've always loved TiVo as well. Great user interface, great program guide. And there's, they looked like they might be down and out at one point, like Apple, I guess, but they came back too. and they're doing pretty good. I think
Yeah.
Rovi bought them, right? Recently?
Yeah, Rovi bought them, and it remains to be seen what will happen with them. But I think the software is good, and there's a question of whether they'll build the hardware themselves going forward, or whether they'll use third parties to build the hardware. But it sounds like they're no longer in danger of going out of business, which is good. Where Rovi takes that business, I don't know. But as somebody who used third-party DVRs for a few years in between TiVos, and I just a couple years ago came back with the Romeo, I can say that there's no better DVR than the TiVo, and now I use it as a streamer too because it has Netflix and Amazon Video, and it's all integrated into their program guide. So I love it, and I'm glad that it may survive after all.
Yes, indeed. So what do you have as your primary home theater display sound system? What do you watch movies on?
Well, I've got my house is not particularly large, and we have sort of one main room that's our living room and our dining room and our kitchen is kind of all run together.
And the home theater?
And the home theater is at one end of it. But I do have a 5.1 system.
Good.
So I've got when we updated our house a little bit, I put rear surrounds in the ceilings, which I think my wife was very happy about because I had little speakers sitting on top of the piano and on a side table, and they were not. It was not good for anyone. So I do have a 5.1 system, and it's a relatively small Vizio 4K TV, but it looks good. It sounds great. I really do love the 5.1 audio, and I've got a subwoofer, and we turn that up for watching movies, and it rumbles the house, and it's all good.
So what's the size of the TV?
I can't even tell you. It's probably like 57 inches or something like that.
Well, it'd be 55.
55. Probably. Okay. I bow to the master. Yeah, but it's not. I think we got up towards 60, but I think we didn't go over in the end because the house, I would have to start taking apart furniture. It's actually fitting in an old console space. And so although it sticks out the edges any larger, and I would have to take down the furniture and hang it on the wall, and I'm not quite there yet.
Not quite there yet. Well, a lot of people face that same dilemma. They've got a piece of furniture. The TV's got to go in that piece of furniture, and so that limits the size. But I also have to say that most people choose a TV size that's too small for the distance that they're sitting, especially in 4K.
Yeah,
right?
I'm sure I'm not appreciating the 4K resolution at all. One of these days, also it's this transition with plasmas going away and the new TVs coming up. I really felt like going to Costco and buying a reasonably priced Vizio to get me through the next few years, and then I can dream of having a much higher quality TV, which I think will be here in the next few years.
Well,
at 4K with HDR and that's the one that I'll hang on the wall and get rid of the furniture for. That's my dream. Yeah.
Well, it is already here. We have OLED or OLED TVs. I just calibrated Leo's new OLED last week, and it's so beautiful, but it's also so expensive.
Yeah. Well, that's the other part of it, right? Is that I wasn't willing to kind of be on the cutting edge of the OLED TV revolution, and I know we're going to get there, and they'll be affordable and look amazing in just 3 or 4 years, because that seems to be what happens with television technology. So
yeah, exactly.
I'm looking forward to that moment, and in the meantime, my old TV died, so it was very much I need to get a TV to get me through this kind of purchase, rather than I didn't want to go on the cutting edge, on the bleeding edge right away.
I understand. I do understand that. And Vizio, I've always recommended Vizio for value. It's great performance for the money, especially the 2016 models. Yours is maybe a year or two older.
Yeah, it's probably a 15.
Okay. So it's still, 4K. It's going to be good. And speaking of Rovi buying TiVo, a Chinese company is in the process of buying Vizio now. They're called Le Echo, and we're all kind of waiting a little bit to see what that means to Vizio products. We hope it doesn't mean anything bad and that they will continue. But the 2016 models that they introduced of their TVs are phenomenal for the money. I mean, full array local dimming, which gives you better screen uniformity, deeper blacks, HDR, high dynamic range with 4K. And have you ever seen high dynamic range imagery yet?
I have seen it at a trade show where it's not the best scenario for that.
No, that's true. That's true. And unfortunately, it's so odd because Dolby is here in the Bay Area, and they don't have a Dolby Cinema here in the Bay Area. They have one down near San Jose, but not up here. So that's a little disconcerting to me. But we have so much to talk about today. And I look forward to hearing from all of you out there. All you have to do is give us a call at 8888-ASK-LEO, which translates to 888-827-5536. And I do hope you'll give us a call. And you can not only call about home theater stuff, audio, video stuff, but also Mac stuff and space stuff. We're going to have a wonderful time today. I'm Scott Wilkinson, the home theater geek, filling in for Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Back after this.
You're out.
Very good.
Yeah, that was great.
Excellent.
We covered all sorts of stuff. Yeah, somebody in the chat room was saying they're rubbish. Well, Vizio, it's a value pick. They're better than they should be for what they cost.
Exactly. I agree completely.
And,
that's exactly right.
And sometimes you just want a Costco TV.
Yes.
Just saying. Sometimes that happens. And they've my LG TV is the one that died. My Vizio TV that I bought a while ago and has moved 3 times to different rooms is still kicking.
There you go.
There's something to be said for that.
Yep, absolutely. Hey, Mick in the chat room. Good to see you. SoCal Tom says, my TV won't resolve me TV in anything other than 4:3. Maybe that's what they're sending. You could stretch it out with one of the aspect ratio modes, but I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I'd watch it in the native aspect ratio.
There's a nice. Somebody mentioned Star Trek in 16:9, and it's true. There is an original series version out there that apparently occasionally gets aired that they did in 16:9, but because what they were doing was taking the original effects and putting them in 16:9.
That's interesting.
But for the canonical versions, they cut it all back to 4:3 because that's how the show was shot. And Next Generation the same way. It was shot in 4:3.
It was shot in 4:3, and so it should be watched in 4:3.
So even if the negative was 16:9 and they were cropping, the right thing to do is to just go with the 4:3 framing, even if you upgrade from into HD.
Right.
Which is not what they've done with a couple of shows like The Wire. They just did it, and David Simon wrote a big piece about supervising that creatively to make the right decisions there. And I think that's the only way you could do that is if you can bring the creators back to make those decisions.
Which, if they're still around.
Right, exactly. Because some shows were shot with 16:9 bar,
with
crops,
safeties, yeah.
But there's still lights and extras and things on the side that they would actually have to take out, and that's the Buffy the Vampire Slayer. They've been airing those in HD conversion, and there's like lights in the sides of the shots.
Oh, really?
And it's just you can't do that.
I've been watching. I watch sometimes Law and Order, and the early episodes were 4:3, of course, but those are all now 16:9. I haven't seen anything like grips or extras or anything in the.
Well, if you do it right, you can fairly easily crop or do some basic CGI to block that stuff out. But somebody needs to be paying attention, and some of the cheaper conversions they don't do that. That's a shame.
Exactly. Okay, good. We got some questions coming up. That's great. Does iPhone have the capability of to switch from Verizon to AT&T? You can probably answer that.
That's a tricky one too.
Okay. Good. Well, I'll start with a TV one if you don't mind.
Yeah, that's great.
We'll go to that one. And you can do a little research there. I love this. It used to be that information that's up on that screen was here. I mean, it's here also, but I can barely read it because it's so tiny. But this is great. Oh, Swamp Rat. Local Me TV airs Gunsmoke, Hogan's Heroes, etc. in 16:9.
There's cropping or stretching.
Yeah. I've seen some bad stretching.
Yeah.
Really bad.
And sometimes they do that peripheral stretching where they keep the center okay, and then and every pan makes you feel dizzy.
Yes.
It's not good. Creamy corn cob. Not all AV today. We are also taking Mac or Apple questions. Doesn't have to be Mac. Anything Apple.
You can give us PC questions. We may not be able to answer them.
That's right. Do you have much experience with Windows?
No.
Yeah. See, I don't either.
I know some stuff about Windows XP, but the more modern Windows is beyond me.
Oh man. Swamp Rat says, not stretched, just cropped for 16:9. I've seen that too. Hey everybody, Scott Wilkinson here, the home theater geek. I'm with Jason Snell, who is a
an Apple expert, and we're going to be talking some about Apple products too, but I think it's time to go to the phones. Now, those of you who are calling in to 8888 Ask Leo, that's 888-827-5536. We'll be talking first to our call screener, Kim Schaefer. And as long as I hit the right button, Kim, how you doing?
Good. How are you guys?
Good, thanks. Thanks so much for being there. You're prepping everybody for their debut on national radio.
Yes, and I do think we have some that are in your wheelhouse.
Excellent. Who should I talk to first?
Roger in Lomita with the LG OLED.
Oh, LG OLED, one of my favorite subjects. Let me call him right up here. There he is. Roger, welcome to the show.
Good to hear from you again. Quick question, because your phone is starting to cut in and out on you may want to have the engineers check it out. But anyway, I'm thinking about buying the TV that Leo has, and Magnolia has them on sale. I went and looked at them yesterday. But the, quote, guru there told me that the B and the C have a slightly less bright picture than the two higher-end models. I just wondered if that's true.
I don't think so. I mean, I think there will be some brightness variability from sample to sample slightly, but as far as I know, all of the LG TVs, OLED TVs, use the same panel. Now, in the case of the higher-end models, the G6 and the E6, they probably take a little more care in picking which panels go into those and maybe a little less care in what goes into the B6.
Okay.
And the C6. The C6 is the only one that's curved.
Right.
Now, do you want a curved set or not?
No,
Okay.
no, I want the B, and it's $34.99 for the 65-inch, which is a pretty...
Wow, $3,500 for a 65-inch OLED. That is pretty great.
Yep.
And, you know, if there is any difference in brightness, it might be because, you know, they didn't take quite as much care in picking which actual panel went into the B6. But it would be minuscule. It would be a minor difference, not worth worrying about.
And the other good news that she told me is you don't have to buy an LG, because I'm going to wall mount this. You can use a standard. In 2016, they went to the standard mounting.
The Visa mount. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. And one last question for you, because your phone is starting to cut out. Do you have to have that LG hooked up to online, or can it just be hooked up to a cable box?
Oh, no, you don't have to have it hooked up online. Now, it does have internal apps for things like Netflix and Amazon and YouTube, probably. I don't know exactly what the list is, but it's long. All these TVs have long lists of apps, and LG is no exception. They have their operating system, or their web interface is called Web OS 3.0. And so, you know, if you want to use that, then yes, you need to hook it up to the internet. But if you don't, then no problem. I mean, you can get those apps on Blu-ray players, on gaming console, you know, all kinds of different devices can bring you those apps.
But you don't have to have it hooked up for, like, software updates and that type of thing, or?
Well, there you go. Now, if you want firmware updates, yeah, that you'd want it hooked up to. You made the good case for that.
Okay, but you don't have to.
No.
Oh, okay, great.
Absolutely, it's not required.
Great. Thank you so much, Scott.
My pleasure. Thanks so much. All right. He said my phone's cutting out. I'm not quite sure I know what that means.
I don't know.
But
he sounded great, and we
did.
sounded great, I think.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, here we are listening to this. It's totally fine. Okay, let's take another call. We actually have an Apple call here. I'm going to call up Gary in Laguna Niguel. Gary, welcome.
Yeah, Scott, believe me, if I ever had a question on TV, I know who to call.
Thank you.
Yeah. The question I have here, I don't know if maybe you guys can just kind of think about this. I do a lot of outdoor work. I'm a bird photographer.
Nice.
I go to a lot of different places.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one week I could be up in the San Francisco Bay Area, and then going out to Sonoma.
Okay.
The next day I could be out in Anza Borrego Desert State Park.
Ooh, beautiful
I
place
go to
there.
a lot of different places.
Yeah.
And I've asked this to Leo before, and he was kind of stumped. I figured I'd ask you guys. What phone can I get that would switch between Verizon and AT&T? Because so many locations I go to, I'll have a good Verizon signal, and then I have a dead zone, and I go to find out a friend of mine that's with me, he has an AT&T phone, and it works. And so I can't always have a Verizon and an AT&T phone with me at all times.
Wow. Well, that's a pretty good question. I have never heard of a phone that can actually switch providers.
Well, you actually can do that in other parts of the world fairly easily. In the United States, they make it really hard for you. I can tell you that the iPhone, for a while now, I think since the 4S, you've been able to do this with an unlocked phone. The problem was that in the United States, unlocked phones were incredibly rare. Mm-hmm. But now, because of the way that the carriers have sort of changed how they do things, you can if you get your phone financed by your carrier, they're going to want to lock your phone to their network. So that's the problem, is you don't want to do that. But Apple offers an upgrade plan directly for the iPhone, and there are also so you've got a way you can also just buy it free and clear, which costs more up front, but over the course of a couple of years of using it, you get it's the equivalent of what you would have paid into a carrier for that plan. So if you can get an unlocked phone either through an Apple financing plan or just by buying an unlocked phone, I believe if you get an unlocked phone from Apple and you ask for the Verizon model.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
The unlocked phones that you're referring to, most of those are a GSM-based phone. And see, here's the thing. Verizon and Sprint are CDMA.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Of course, T-Mobile, Metro PCS, AT&T, those are GSM. And this is the thing. I don't know if Apple makes a phone that can pick up both CDMA and GSM.
Yes.
See, that's what I'm looking for.
Absolutely. Actually, the iPhone, since the iPhone, I want to say 4S, if not that, it's the 5. Every iPhone is more or less the same. So if you got a Verizon iPhone unlocked, which means from Apple by buying an unlocked phone, it's got a SIM card slot in it. And the CDMA carriers don't actually even need a SIM card. The SIM card is there for international roaming. But with an unlocked phone, you can put an AT&T SIM card in there. The question, and this is not something that I've tried before, is the question is, if it continues to see a valid Verizon, will it always try to use Verizon? But there is a carrier submenu. You can only see it if you're in a place like international roaming where you'd see multiple carriers. In the settings app of the iPhone, there's actually a carrier menu that appears, and you can auto pick which carrier to use, or you can force it onto a carrier. I can't say 100% that there wouldn't be some strange side effect of it being a Verizon phone, but if it's unlocked, it should be able to do CDMA and GSM. They do that because if you're a Verizon customer or Sprint customer and you travel overseas, you can't use those networks. So they have to roam to a GSM network. So I would say it is that would be my best bet, is get an unlocked iPhone, say it's for Verizon, and then get an AT&T SIM and put it in there.
CDMA phone then.
Yeah, well, the problem is if you get an AT&T phone, the CDMA stuff is in there, but I believe, I'm not 100% on this, I think it's hard to go the other direction and go to Verizon.
Hey, thanks so much for the call. We're out of time right now, and this is Scott Wilkinson, the Home Theater Geek, filling in for Leo Laporte. We'll be back after this. Sorry.
Radio.
You're out, guys.
Ooh. We weren't out when we said that.
Yeah, you were.
Oh, okay. Good. Thank you.
I just forgot to tell you.
The music popped up, which is why I figured it. That is a hard question to answer because the carriers don't want you to move carriers. But there's totally a carrier submenu in the iPhone if it sees multiple carriers.
I didn't even know that. That is so cool. This monitor just went off. So while Burke is fixing that, I think Leo has something to share with us all. Let's check it out.
I'll get back to Scott Wilkinson and the tech guy in just a moment. Thank you, Scott, for filling in for me on vacation. Our show today, our entire podcast, and actually most of the Twit Network, brought to you by Audible.com. You know, on my trip, in fact, I put, 20 books, 20 Audible books on my iPhone, and I put it on both phones and on my T-Mobile phone so that I would never be without an audiobook. I love audiobooks. And I downloaded a couple. I like to do this when I'm visiting a country or an area, listen to books about that country or area. Last year, I listened to the Great Courses. You know, they have these, this is one of the things I love about Audible. They have the entire collection of great courses. These are college courses, best professors in the world. And they had 3 great lecture series. So it was actually like 3 classes about the Middle Ages. And we were going through, the Castle region of Germany. I mean, the history there is phenomenal. And I loved listening to the history as we're going through the area. Of course, every time I go to Paris, Ernest Hemingway's A Movable Feast, you got to read that again. There's a lot of great books to read. A listener suggested a book. He said, if you're going to Russia, you've got to read Bulgarov, and you've got to read The Master and the Margarita. Now, for me, when I hear the word read, I always substitute the word listen. These days, I don't know, maybe you're in the same boat. Who has time for reading, to actually physically hold a book? The time I get where I could read is in the car, or while I'm doing the dishes, or walking the dog, or on the treadmill. I mean, an hour a day exercise, that would be great reading time, but I can't hold the book while I'm going. So Audible, for me, is my reading. I also confess, when I get in bed with a book, it usually ends up landing on my face because I fall asleep after one page. Audible is a lifesaver. So I checked. Yes, The Master and the Margarita is on Audible. And in fact, it's a wonderful performance. It's a great book to listen to on Audible. I'm really enjoying it. And when I get to St. Petersburg, I'm sorry, I don't remember your name, the guy who emailed me. But thank you. He said, you just say, oh, yeah, I was just reading Bulgarov to any Russian. They'll go, oh, you're taking this seriously. I'm looking forward to it. It does give you some insight into the Russians' state of mind. That's the neat thing about Audible. A whole world of learning and entertainment await you. We're going to get you your first audiobook free. I love this when you go to audible.com/techguy. I use the subscription plan because that's the best way to get, I love it. My subscription renews on the 22nd of each month, and I go, oh, what am I going to get this month? This is the subscription plan. You're going to get the gold account. That's a book a month, or it's really a credit a month, but some of the longer books are multiple credits. You could save up for that. You also get, as part of your subscription, the daily digest of the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal, so you can listen in the car on the way to work. You can catch up on the news. I just tell you, there's just so many great books on Audible. You're going to really love it. Go browse, find a book, then go to audible.com/techguy. You sign up for the gold account. The first 30 days are free. You cancel anytime in the first 30 days, you'll pay nothing. But that book is always yours to keep, and that's nice. Audible.com/techguy. We thank them so much for their support of our podcasts. They offer good in the U.S. and Canada, but Audible's all over the world. So even though you don't get the free offer, try it because you're going to love it. Audible.com/techguy.
I'm Scott Wilkinson, the home theater geek and editor of avsforum.com. I'm here with Jason Snell, podcaster extraordinaire and Apple expert. And we're going to go right back to the phones here. Let's see.
Let's do it.
Who should I talk to? Oh, someone wants to pick my brain. That is Kevin in Wichita, Kansas. Kevin, welcome to the show.
Thank you for taking my call. It's fun to speak with you.
Sure, thanks. What can I do for you?
Well, I bit the bullet on a 4K HDR TV.
Congratulations.
I have a question on my purchase and also HDR10 versus Dolby Vision.
Oh, one of my favorite subjects.
And maybe your crystal ball into the future. So I went, after reading a lot of reviews and ratings, I went with a Samsung 8000 2016 model.
Okay, that would be the KS8000?
That's correct. And that's the 5-inch is what I did. And my biggest concern is it's only HDR10 compatible. Do you believe that in the future that standard will live on, even if both standards, even if both and HDR10 are in the future, you're going to have a television that's going to be obsolete?
I don't think so. Samsung does only support HDR10. And as you say, there are two HDR formats that are common today. There are more than that, actually. Quite a few more, but the big ones are HDR10 and Dolby Vision. And Samsung only supports HDR10. And the reason for that, and the reason why most companies only support HDR10, is that it's an open standard. It's free to implement. Dolby Vision, you have to pay Dolby some license fee, and you have to have kind of some special hardware, chip or something in the TV in order to decode it. And at the moment, there is only one source, really, for Dolby Vision content in the home, and that is Vudu Streaming. And Vudu actually just recently announced that they're going to also offer HDR10. They were, for a while, they were Dolby Vision exclusively, but now they're doing HDR10 as well. And all the other places online that you can stream HDR, high dynamic range material, are all HDR10. Similarly, Ultra HD Blu-ray, which is the physical disc format now, supports HDR10. In fact, it's required. It's mandatory. If you're going to have HDR content on a disc, it has to be in HDR10. It can also be in Dolby Vision. And in fact, Dolby Vision can incorporate HDR10 within its architecture. And so if some studio at some point wants to release a disc in Dolby Vision, it will have HDR10 kind of embedded in it, and a TV that doesn't recognize Dolby Vision will still recognize the HDR10 and play it like that. So I'm of the opinion that HDR10 is the one that is most likely to survive long into the future. Dolby Vision probably will too. Dolby Vision is the way you get HDR10 in the commercial cinema. It's the only way to do it, and it looks fabulous. If you get a chance to see that, you really should go out to the movies and see that. But at home, I think HDR10 is not going to go away or become obsolete anytime soon. So, did that answer your question? I think we lost him. Too bad. I hope you heard that, because I got to tell you, man, HDR10, or HDR rather, just looks so great. Whereas with pixel increase in pixel resolution, right, from HD to 4K, you can't really see that unless you're close enough to the screen, depending on the size of the screen. But with HDR, you can easily see the improvement across the room. So that's a big deal in my opinion. Let's see. Oh, you know what? We got another one for you. I'm going to go to Kathy in New York, who has an iPhone question. Hey, Kathy, welcome to the show. Did I get him? Did I get her? Have I got you there, Kathy? I guess I don't. I'm not quite sure what's happening there. So I'm going to move on. Hopefully we can find Kathy a little bit later. Meanwhile, I'm going to try Warren in Torrance. Warren, welcome to the show.
All our callers are silent all of a sudden. Oh,
man. Okay. Well, we're obviously having a little technical problem here. I'm not quite sure what it is. I believe I'm pushing the right buttons, just like I did yesterday. So, okay, well, I'm going to wait and see what happens here. Maybe I'll try one more. Let's see if I can get... Oh, we're going to talk amongst ourselves. Oh,
yeah.
Got to reboot the phone system.
That's awesome.
You know, being a tech guy, as Leo is, you know, he's always on the bleeding edge.
I love the fact that the solution to our phone system is the solution to most technical problems out there that people might have, which is you got to turn it off and turn it back on.
Reboot. I have had this. I mean, that is my first piece of advice. Exactly. And how many times has it worked? For me, it's worked more than 50% of the time.
I think it's even more like 90% of the time. I had this problem on my Mac the other day where I had a file that refused to export and I couldn't do anything to figure it out. I filed a bug with Apple and then I thought, you know what? I'm going to reboot. Totally, that was it. Something was wrong somewhere. These systems that we use are so complicated.
Yes.
And it's a miracle they work as well as they do. But every now and then something gets out of sync. Something it thinks is one way, the main system is actually the other way.
Yep.
And the only solution is to go back to nothing. My mom calls me all the time asking for solutions to tech problems, and that's the answer that I almost always works, which is turn it off, turn it back on. And that's it.
Yeah, exactly. And that is that's the solution I often give
there.
as well. Yeah, you got to start there.
Yep.
And then if that doesn't work,
well, then you have to get out your notepad and begin the diagnosis. I think, of what else it might be.
Exactly. I have to tell you, I worked for a while for a company called Roland. They make synthesizers and audio equipment and so on. And I was in the customer support department, and I would take questions from people. And, very often it was just, power it off and power it back on. But sometimes that didn't work. So we had to go through the diagnostic procedure. And that was in the days when you could actually call somebody, and I was at the other end of the line in that case. I guess you still can in certain. I've had a number of calls with Apple recently, and I have to commend them for their customer service. I mean, I was able to get a hold of somebody who knew what they were talking about and was able to solve the problem that I had relatively efficiently. It wasn't like I was on hold for an hour and then got somebody who didn't know what they were talking about and then, move up the chain. It was really pretty good.
Yeah, one of the problems with a lot of the stuff we've got now is it's so simple to use, it's interfaceless. And the problem with being interfaceless is then you can't see what's going wrong in order to fix it. And if you're anybody who's helped people with technology, like what Leo does and what we're doing today, one of the challenges of that is you don't have any information. It's like a doctor trying to guess what's wrong with a patient without symptoms. And that happens so often now, where there's something so simple to use that you have no idea when it goes wrong what went wrong. And it's great for users that it's simple to use, but it's bad when something goes wrong because you have no clue a lot of times about what happened just then.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, I did want to mention on another subject, next hour we have a guest coming on at just after the bottom of the hour, Chris Marquardt, who is Leo's regular photo guy. And I've been in touch with him. He wanted to come on even though Leo wasn't here, and I'm happy to have him come on the show all the way from Germany. He's staying up pretty late for this, and we're going to be talking about monitors and how to view your photos. What do you need in a monitor that's going to accurately show your photos? That's going to be really cool. So stay tuned for that. Meanwhile, this is Scott Wilkinson, the home theater geek, filling in for Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Back after this. Hey, I'm digging the music today. Dancing around the studio. Well, not too far from the mic, actually. Hey, it's Scott Wilkinson here, the home theater geek and editor of avsforum.com. I'm here with Jason Snell, podcaster extraordinaire and Apple expert. So we did have an Apple call, but then the phones kind of went a bit wonky, and we lost that call. So I hope that person calls back. Meanwhile, I am going to hope that the calling system works and talk with Warren in Torrance, California. Hey, Warren, welcome to the show.
How are you doing today, Scott?
Doing great, thanks. How about yourself?
Good. Thanks for you and Jason pinch-hitting while Leo's having a well-deserved vacation.
Well-deserved vacation. And believe me, I'm real happy to be here.
A couple questions for you. First one, most important question, looking for in a small bedroom a sound bar or a plate you might suggest or recommend to kind of boost the sound quality off the TV in there?
Sure. Almost anything will improve the sound quality of a TV's internal speakers. I will tell you that right now. I'm not quite sure I know what you mean by the word plate.
Well, I've seen the little square pieces that you can put underneath the TV. That's what I call a plate. You can put it underneath it as opposed to either in front of it.
Yeah. Okay, that's called a sound base, typically.
Thank you.
Okay. So either way, you'll certainly get better sound almost without doubt, no matter what you get. It also depends on the kind of money you want to spend. What kind of budget do you have?
Well, for right now, it's wide open. So tell me why don't you tell me what the best of the best is, and then give me the mid-range.
Okay. Well, I'm really digging the Samsung soundbar system, which is basically a soundbar in the front, 2 wireless surround speakers for the surround sound, a subwoofer, and the sound bar itself and the surround speakers have what are called Dolby Atmos enabled speakers in them, which fire sound from a Dolby Atmos soundtrack up to the ceiling and reflect it back down to you, giving you the impression that you have sounds coming from above. This is far more immersive and engaging than your typical 5.1 surround or 7.1 surround. And I believe the list price on that, it's the HW-K950, I believe. List price on it is $1,500.
Okay.
So that's, not cheap. But for a bedroom, well, sure, for a bedroom, if you've got a fairly reflective flat ceiling, it doesn't work too well with a pitched or cathedral ceiling. But if you have a kind of a flat, normal drywall ceiling in there, it would work really great. And man, oh man, with Atmos content, mostly from Ultra HD Blu-ray, there is some streaming Atmos content. It's really beautiful. Now, if you can spend $1,500, that's great. Samsung just opened, or 3 years ago, they opened an audio laboratory that they do a lot of research on making better sounding audio equipment, and this is one of the products out of that effort, and I think it's really great. Sound bases, I'm less familiar with. I know Zvox. I've been very impressed with the Zvox sound bases. Vizio sound bars. I think Vizio also makes a sound base, and most of them come with a subwoofer, which is what you want because any sound bar is going to have little tiny speakers in it, and those are not going to, get you down into the bass. So I would say if you don't want to spend that kind of money on the Samsung, Vizio, Zvox would be my next kind of mid-range products to look at.
Okay. A second question as I was waiting on hold, and it's all related to what you've been talking about, this OLED TV. Mm-hmm. What's your take or...
Uh-oh. What's my take on? Oh, man. Well...
Technologically, how does that compare with the OLED?
Wow, you're back. Unfortunately, you cut out there just as you were about to ask your question. Could you repeat that, please? Oh, man. Okay, I'm going to guess what he had in mind. And he was asking about OLED TV and how does that compare technologically, I guess, with LCD TV, okay? And there are a number of differences that you have to be aware of. One of them is that LCD TVs, by their nature, when you are watching them on axis, right, straight down the middle, they look great. But when you go off axis to the sides, the black level rises, the colors desaturate, it starts looking pretty bad. And in some cases, you don't even have to get that far off axis for it to start looking pretty bad. So if you're often hosting big parties, sporting parties or whatever, and you're off to the side, then it's going to be, it looks pretty bad for those people. OLED doesn't have that problem. It has a few more minor problems when looked at off axis, particularly color shifts into the blue cyan region. But there's no increase in black level, and it looks much better, I should say, off axis. The other thing, main difference between them is brightness. LCD TVs can get very bright, much brighter than OLED or OLED TVs can get. So if you need a lot of brightness, if you're watching in a bright room with lots of ambient light, then LCD TV is going to typically do better in that environment. But if you're watching in a darkened room, fairly darkened room, doesn't have to be perfectly black, but it needs to have less ambient light, then OLED's going to be fine. Of course, LCD TVs are generally less expensive than OLEDs is another big difference. So, Warren, have I got you back?
Oh, I'm back now, Scott.
Okay. Did I answer your question? You cut out there, and I kind of had to guess a little bit.
Well, you were guessing almost on track. Sony I read, and it's in the paper today, they released a new Sony HDR TV.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not on the low end.
It's not on the low end, no. It's called the Z9.
What?
It's called the Z9 TV. It's their new flagship model. It's really wonderful. I think it's the best LCD TV that's ever been made. It's really beautiful. I have seen it work. It's got a number of really, really nice features that make it the best LCD TV ever made, but it's also pretty expensive. They just announced they have a 100-inch version that's going to cost $60,000. Now, they also have I think a 65 and a 75, and those are a little more reasonable. The 75, I think, is 10 grand. The 65 might be on the order of 6 grand. I'll have to look that up to be sure, but I think it's something on that order. But at 100 inches, I'd start thinking about a projector. You know, you could get a projector to do a 100-inch image or much bigger even for a lot less than 60 grand. So anyway, that's the Sony Z9 is a wonderful, wonderful TV, and I'm really happy with it. And that's the answer to that question.
Hey, I appreciate your time. Hey, have a good day.
Thanks. You too. All right, let's see here. I've got a little bit of time left. Let's get another caller in. Who's been waiting the longest? Oh, good. I'm going to talk to Alan in Laguna Niguel. Alan, hey, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. And by the way, I have that Vizio soundbar system with the subwoofer you just referenced, and it's pretty good.
Pretty good, yeah.
Yeah.
Certainly better than the TV's internal sound. Oh, man, have I lost you too? I'm afraid our phone system is a little...
Sounds like it's cutting in and out.
It's being broadcast that you're really taking advantage of the technology. What are your thoughts?
I'm sorry, you cut out on me a little bit. Repeat the question, please.
Yeah, my understanding is with 4K, unless the content is being delivered in a 4K format, it's being transmissioned, it's being broadcast in 4K, you're not really taking advantage of the technology. So I'm not sure why people are buying the 4K TVs to date.
Well, there's a couple of answers to that question for sure. One is the manufacturers are all making 4K TVs. They're almost not making 1080p TVs anymore. So that's all you can buy. Now, you're right, there isn't a lot of native 4K content available, although that is growing, and there certainly is some. But when you don't have native 4K content, you have 1080p content, HD, high definition, the TV will upscale it. And so then the question becomes, which TVs have the best upscalers? Because some work better than others. And if they work really well, then you actually, you see a good picture. And that's the thing to do when you're reading reviews, is to look at whether they evaluate the upscaler in a TV, because that will tell you how good it will look on content that's HD or 1080p. But of course, I do want to emphasize that we have Ultra HD Blu-ray, and we have something like 40 or 50 titles now, and that's not very much, but there weren't very much when HD came out either. You know what? We're going to switch phone systems here, and I'm going to tell you about that right after the break. This is Scott Wilkinson, the home theater geek, filling in for Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Back after this.
You're on.
Hey everybody, Scott Wilkinson here, the home theater geek and editor of avsforum.com. Welcome to the Tech Guy Show. I'm filling in for Leo Laporte, the tech guy, who's on a well-deserved vacation. And I'm joined in studio today by I'm looking at my phone here, Jason Snell, who is a podcaster extraordinaire, Apple expert, and otherwise really nice fellow. Welcome.
I'm happy to be here with you as we struggle with our old phone system went away, but our new phone system is, I believe, up and running now.
I believe it is, yes, indeed. We got a different number for you to call. The normal number that you would call for this show has been running into some problems. As you said earlier off the air, we are dealing with our own Kobayashi Maru.
Yeah, that's right. It's a test for us fill-ins for Leo. Leo's laughing somewhere.
He's laughing somewhere.
Now they'll see how hard it is.
Anyway, I want to make sure everybody knows this number. It's really important. There are two of them. One is 8, and they're both with area code 844, which I guess is a toll-free. I hadn't heard that one before, but it's 844. And the two numbers are 562-2639 and 662-2639. So the two numbers are the same, except they start with a 5 or a 6, and they both have area code 844. So for the rest of the show, that is the phone number that we are going to be using for that. And unfortunately, I then need to get on to Google Hangouts. And so let's see. Oh, we got an Apple call for you.
Oh, hooray.
I'm going to go with Brian from Anchorage talking about iTunes and Apple Music. Brian, have I got you on?
Yes, Scott and Jason, thank you so very much. I actually have two questions if there's time. The first one is my family. We share one iTunes account. I've done that for years. Works great. I'm wondering, and I'm puzzled, what's the advantage of switching to the Apple Music family sharing? What do we gain? What do we give up if we do that?
Yeah, so family sharing, you gain a few things. You gain the ability to have your different family members all using their own Apple IDs, which means you can set some different rules based on them. You can set an allowance. There are some features like that you can get out of it. You can use the Apple Music family account instead of sharing one Apple ID. There are also some disadvantages. It doesn't let you share your iCloud storage space. So one of the downsides is suddenly everybody, if you're paying for extra iCloud storage, that's only on the account you're paying for and not for the new Apple IDs that your family is using, which I've run into problems with my daughter's iPhone backing up and running out of room on that. So that can be an issue. And another issue to think about is in-app purchases. A lot of apps that have in-app purchases, your app, you can load generally you can load apps on any Apple ID that's associated with your family. So if you bought a bunch of apps under the single ID, your family members would be able to get those. But I believe in-app purchases don't come through, which means if you're somebody who's got a lot of games or things like that that are based on in-app purchase stuff that you've done, you may lose that. So, I think it's a good direction Apple's going in with the family plan stuff, but unless I mention something that makes you perk up and say, oh, wow, that's exactly what I want, is the allowances or things like that, I would say if what you've got now is working for you, you might be better off with that because you do risk giving up some things by going to the family plan.
Yeah, that's what I feared.
Yeah, and I wish it was. And things like your photo library, for example, don't get shared across to the members of the family, which is also too bad.
That is too bad.
I think it's a work in progress. I'm disappointed they didn't make more progress on the family side in this most recent round of OS updates, but they didn't.
Oh, that's really helpful, Jason. Thanks. And if there's time, the other question I have along the same lines is I'm an avid classical music enthusiast. And iTunes has just about ruined my collection. I'm about ready to re-rip all of my CDs again. What is a good alternative for somebody like me, do you think?
Well, in terms of classical music, are you talking about streaming or downloading?
Or just cataloging?
First of all, cataloging, but also I'm streaming as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, Tidal... TIDAL is an excellent streaming service. I actually don't know how much classical music they have on there, but I'm sure they have some. But it's done in lossless, uncompressed CD quality. So that's going to get you a lot better quality than a highly compressed MP3 or something like that. So... yeah, that's a great one, Tidal.com.
And I will also say there's a guy named Kirk McElhearn. That's McElhearn. He is the iTunes guy for Macworld and a huge classical music fan. And he's written a bunch of articles about ways of getting your classical music library to work well within iTunes, which sounds like it's right up your alley.
Oh,
so you
sure
should
does.
Search for iTunes classical music Kirk McElhearn on Google, and you'll probably find it, or you can go to McElhearn.com, his website, and probably find links from there. But Kirk knows his stuff, and he loves classical music, and he uses iTunes, so there's got to be a way, and Kirk has written about it.
Oh, perfect. Thank you both. Great recommendations. Thank you so very much. I'm thrilled that you all are on today.
Sure. Thanks so much for calling. All right, we got a couple of Vizio TV questions, so I'm going to go to line 2, Michael from Encinitas. Hey, Michael, welcome to the show.
Hello. Yeah, I'm looking at a Vizio M60 D1 TV.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a 2016?
Yes, the D1 is 2016, correct, and that's the one you want.
Okay, good. Because I've been listening for the last couple of hours. I know you mentioned that one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Vizios. So good. And then, are they easy to set up in terms of? I know you always talk about calibration. I mean, I'm just a guy watching it in my, in a room. So
Sure. Well, I talk about calibration because I'm a geek,
Okay.
And it's important. It can be important, and the more you spend on a TV, the more important it is, and the sort of less financial hit it is. But a Vizio M series, 60-inch, you're certainly talking under $2,000. I don't know what you saw it, but it might be $1,200 or $1,500, something like that. Might not. It's probably not worth spending another $300 to $500 to have a professional come out and do a full calibration. You can get 80% of the way there yourself by buying a $30 disc from Amazon or whatever. The one that I recommend for people who aren't, such TV geeks as I am, is from Disney. It's called Disney World of Wonder, or WOW.
Okay.
And it takes you through the steps to set the basic picture controls that anybody can set. And there are 5 of them. They're called contrast, brightness, color, tint, and sharpness. And the most important ones to set are contrast and brightness and sharpness. Color usually is not really needed to be changed, color and tint. But if you get that disc, you can set those up yourself, and you're 70, 80% of the way towards a professional calibration.
That's good enough for me. And then I heard you mention some speakers, like just a sound bar.
Yeah.
I'm not looking, I'm looking maybe at the most 200 or 300, and I'm looking at, I don't know, for the Vizio, for that TV.
Sure. I think the Vizio sound bars are perfectly adequate. They'll certainly give you a lot better quality than the coming out of the TV itself. And I wouldn't see any problem with that at all. Vizio soundbar would probably be in that price range, and I think you'd be happy with it.
Okay, then one last question. It's not exactly related, but I was looking at an iPad. Is that not a good question right now? Or?
Well, we're coming up to a break here. If you can hang on, I'll let Jason answer a question about iPad. Okay?
Okay.
So you got to be ready for a question about iPad?
I'm prepared.
He's sitting here, fingers poised, ready to handle it. But we're just coming up just a few seconds to the music, and there it is. So hang on. We'll be right back. It's Scott Wilkinson, the home theater geek, filling in for Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Well, let's see what's happening in the chat room. I haven't looked in there lately.
Well, Dr. Mac has got lots of problems with his iPhone.
Uh-oh.
Well, it does. It appears and then disappears when he attaches it to iTunes. And we're trying to. I've thrown him like 5 different things and an Apple Tech article, and he's tried all these things. And somebody else suggested, and I poo-pooed it at the time, which is looking in the console app, which is in your utilities folder. But I think we may be at that point where you almost want to see if there's an error message that's coming up and what it is, because that shouldn't happen.
It shouldn't. I have a question for you. My iPhone doesn't seem to be syncing contacts and calendar. I plug it into my main computer, and it says it's syncing, but then I look at the calendar and the contacts in my iPhone, and it's not the same as what's...
Yeah. Are your contacts and calendar also on a cloud service somewhere?
I think they're on iCloud, yeah.
Okay, that might be your best solution, is to not sync, not even try to sync over the wire, and just have them sync via the cloud and see if they stay in touch that way.
All right.
iTunes, I stopped syncing data to iTunes a long time ago.
Did you really?
I don't.
It just didn't work?
Yeah.
Hey, we'll have more with Scott Wilkinson. Thank you, Scott, for filling in while I'm on vacation. But first, let me tell you about IT Pro TV, our sponsor for today's Tech Guy podcast. And good friends. In fact, we're going to be flying out to Florida later this month because Tim and Don are opening their new studios. So our new studio, we got 2 studios. We got here and we got there. They got 5 new studios. That's good news if you're an IT Pro TV subscriber. IT Pro TV is the best way to stay up to date with current technology certifications. So if you're trying to get a cert so you can get into IT, this is the easiest, funnest, bestest way to learn. I mean, it's awesome. You can watch it on your Roku. They do live streaming. You're on your Chromecast. Pretty much every device. They have Apple TV app now. And so you can put it on your big screen. You can get in the car, watch it on your phone. You can watch it at work on your iPad or your tablet or your computer. And so you're always getting, it's kind of like Twit, where it's always going on, and through osmosis, you're always learning. This week, I think they're doing CCENT, CCNA routing and switching, CISM, and they're doing that Certified Ethical Hacker. They're doing version 9 of that. These are all certs you can get that make you more desirable in the workplace. Now, if you're already in IT, of course, you know how important it is to keep up. And again, it's the easiest way. Just fill your brain with the knowledge you need to do a better job. 1,000 hours of content, more than 30 hours added weekly. And now when these new studios go online, that number is going to double. You can watch it even offline if you subscribe for a year. So they have monthly plans and yearly plans. Of course, you save money. I think you get 2 months free with the yearly plan, but you also get the ability to download and watch offline. So that's really convenient if you're traveling a lot or you're not always around a network. There's so many other things. There's transcripts for every course, so you can read the transcript or jump to the part you want. They have study groups, practice exams from Transcender. That's a $109 value by itself, so you can take the exam before you take the exam if you're going for a cert. They have virtual machine labs. You don't have to have Windows Server or even Windows clients to learn about it, because you can use an HTML5 browser on any platform, configure Windows Server, configure clients in their 100-plus step-by-step virtual machine labs. Of course, they have a no-hassle cancellation policy. I think that came from the idea that, well, you're going to get the cert and then cancel. But you know what? No one cancels because there's still so much to learn. But you can. It's easy to cancel, so don't worry about that. They're geeks. They know. They're not going to make it hard for you. If you recently signed up for an enterprise account with an IT Pro TV competitor, if you know what I mean, and maybe you just got the notice on the rate increases, IT Pro TV will match your previous year's pricing on that account, so that you and your team can continue to learn at an affordable rate. IT Pro's TV's clients in business, individuals, and universities, they're all over. In universities alone, Harvard, MIT, UCSD, Stanford. I mean, you got to figure the Harvard IT department is a tip-top, right? IT department. They all subscribe. Check out itpro.tv/techguy. to access the world's most popular IT certifications. Now, let me tell you the finances here. Premium subscriptions, normally, I think very affordable, especially compared to a technical school or the study materials. And this is a much better way to learn. $57 a month, or as I said, if you get a year, it's only $570. It's 2 months free. But this is our offer. If you go to itpro.tv/techguy and you use the code TG30, TG30, you'll get a 7-day free trial. And if you decide to continue on, 30% off forever for the lifetime of your account. That brings it down to as low as $399 for a year. Now, that's just a little more than $30 a month. I mean, that is really, really good. itpro.tv/techguide, the easiest, best way to stay up to date with technology and your business. itpro.tv/techguy. Now we go back to Scott Wilkinson and the Tech Guy Show. Scott?
This is Scott Wilkinson, the home theater geek and editor of avsforum.com. I'm here with Jason Snell, Apple expert and podcaster extraordinaire. And we were talking with Michael, I believe. Are you still on there, Michael?
I am.
Great. And you had another question about iPads, I think?
Yes. What I'm trying to do, I have an iPhone 6, and I used to have all Apple products, and I want to get back to that and have a seamless interface. And I have an iPad 2 now, which is obviously old, and I'm looking to upgrade to that. And then also I want to eventually get like a MacBook or something like that, so I just want a little bit of advice on that. Because I looked at the iPad 4, and there's like a professional series and a regular series, and then different memories. So I'm trying to get an idea of what's best for me.
All right, so the iPad Pro is out there now, and that's a little more expensive, and that supports things like that Apple Pencil, and it's got the little accessory thing on the side, so you can get an external keyboard that's sort of connected to it and uses the battery of it. But they're still selling the iPad Air 2, and they cut that by $100, and that's a pretty darn good iPad. So I would say if you're turned off a little bit by the price of the iPad Pro, the two models, there's the 9.7 and then the huge one that I've got right in front of me here. The iPad Air 2 is a really good iPad. That's the one that my wife uses, and with it $100 cheaper, I think there's a lot to be said for it. And no, it is essentially last year's model, but it was a huge step forward in terms of speed, and I think it's going to be good for a lot of years. So you might want to look at that one.
Does that have an external keyboard too?
Well, so you can use an external keyboard with any of them via Bluetooth. and there are lots of external keyboards. The difference is that the iPad Pro has what's called the Smart Connector, and that there are a few, there are not that many, that it will be able to use where it actually sort of magnetically attaches and takes its power right from there. So you don't have to recharge it, you don't have to connect via Bluetooth. But there are only a handful. I mean, like literally, I think there are 5 Smart Connector keyboards out there. The iPad Pro can also use Bluetooth keyboards, so it's not limited in that way. But so it's a slight difference, but there are plenty of good Bluetooth keyboards that work with the iPad Air 2 as well.
Okay, and that comes in different memories and stuff like that. Same thing, like a.
Yeah, there are a few different storage options, not as many as on the iPad Pro, but you've got, I think, a good set of storage options on the Air 2.
Is that a 9-inch screen?
Yeah, that's the 9.7. The iPad Air 2 and the 9.7-inch iPad Pro look almost exactly the same because your iPad 2. It's the same size as that, except with a higher resolution screen. It's got the Retina display, but it's the same screen size as your iPad 2.
Okay, now. Yeah, I'm definitely getting one of those. But now, when I'm looking to do it, I'm a retired engineer, so I like to hack. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you think I need to upgrade to have that, but also because I like to travel a lot, so I would use the iPad Air 2. But in terms of I'm not familiar with what's out there, like the MacBook Pro, or I don't know what's out there, like more of almost like a mini workstation at home.
Right. Right. So we're in a weird place with the Mac right now. Apple hasn't updated most of the Macs in a long time, and I think if you look at the rumors, I think there's a pretty good chance that a lot of Apple stuff is going to get updated later this month. That's what everybody is hoping. Everybody's hoping Apple's going to release some new MacBook Pros. There may be an update to the MacBook Air. The MacBook without any other name than just the MacBook was updated in the spring, so it probably wouldn't get an update. But I would say if you're looking for especially a laptop Mac and maybe any Mac that if you can put off until the end of the month, there will probably be new laptops, and then your decision's going to probably be between a new MacBook Pro that's going to be a little bit heavier and more expensive but have a lot of the latest and greatest snazzy features in it. You've got the existing MacBook, which is beautiful and thin and light, but it's actually relatively slow. You're trading the thinness and lightness for a slower processor. It doesn't have a fan in it, so it's got to run cooler. And hopefully the rumor has it maybe an updated MacBook Air, which is sort of splits the difference. It's got a lot of the features of the MacBook, but is not quite as light, but it's a little bit faster and it's a little bit cheaper. But I say watch the skies and maybe wait toward the end of the month, because everybody's hoping that Apple's product line is going to turn over on the Mac side at hopefully an event later this month. But certainly whether they do it in an event or by press release, we're hoping to see new Macs before Halloween, really.
Yeah, I can wait on that, but I guess I'm looking for more of the speed, not like great speed, but I don't want something slow or
know.
So the Pro,
MacBook,
sounds more
I think the MacBook Pro is right up your alley, and you should wait for them to announce new models because the existing models have been out for a couple of years and they're kind of out of date.
Okay, yeah.
But look soon, hopefully in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Well, you answered all my questions, so thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you for calling.
Yeah, thanks so much, man. All right.
Okay.
Let's move on to Lori in Napa, just down the road from where we are. Hey, Lori, are you there?
I'm here.
So nice to hear from you. Thanks so much for calling.
Are you there? Finally.
Yeah. We're having a little technical difficulties here. This is only the Tech Guy Show.
Welcome to live radio.
Indeed, indeed. How can we help you?
So I have two the same issues. One is about a Vizio TV, and one is about my iPad.
Hey, what do you know? You've got the perfect duo here to help you
today.
I know. I'm so excited. So anyway, I just moved here, and I bought the Vizio D series, which I know is a budget series. But
it is.
So far, so good. I have to say, I liked my Samsung better. I moved here from Maui, so I had to I basically got rid of everything.
Right.
But anyway, this was a good price. I bought it at Target. Yada,
sure.
Yada. What I've noticed is that when there is a white background behind something, there seems to be some sort of diagonal, very, very subtle pattern going on, and it kind of messes with your eyes a little bit, like the old CRTs used to do. And I monkey around a lot with all the settings and things like that. And one thing that I've noticed with, all of these LED TVs is that from channel to channel, the picture can change. There doesn't ever seem to be a sweet spot.
Well, that's a problem with the broadcasters. I've noticed that too. That there's a lot of variability between what one broadcaster will send and what another one will send, and very different picture, black level, everything is just all very weird.
Sound sometimes is different. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. And there's nothing much any of us can do about it.
Yeah. So
this white,
have you ever heard of this white thing going? It's kind of it makes your eyeballs jiggle a little bit.
I don't think I've ever heard of that. Actually, this is the first time.
Well, of course.
I guess, of course. I mean, I guess one thing that comes to mind is you might want to make sure. I'm not familiar with the menu system in the Vizio, but you might want to make sure that there's no overscanning going on. And that would be in the menu for aspect ratio. And you'd want to make sure it's 16:9, and I think it's called Just Scan or I forget what it's called. I'll try and look that up. Here we're coming up towards a break, and in fact, here it is. So hang on a second. We'll get your second question. Okay. Yeah, hang on there. This is Scott Wilkinson, the home theater geek, filling in for Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Chris Marquardt coming up next.
You're out.
Okay. Whoosh. Let's see here. I'm going to see if I can find the Vizio D-Series menu. Let's see, Vizio.
Yeah, everybody's looking in the chat room. There's like, there's no standard name for this thing, which is do not ruin my picture.
Do not. You mean in terms of
the Just Scan mode?
Oh, the Just Scan mode. Yeah, exactly.
I found it on my mom's Panasonic Plasma. It was in a submenu of a submenu with a totally obscure name. It's just, why would you hide that feature?
Yeah, why would you?
Just leave it alone.
Okay, so yeah, exactly. Okay, I'm going to go to I'm pretty sure if she just got it recently, it's got to be a D. So let me see if I can look that up. Yeah, don't ruin my picture. Which the TV is typically set to do.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, my mom's was. I kept looking at it and thinking, I think it's overscanning. What is going on here? And I went in, and yep, sure enough.
Okay, good.
Sure enough.
You guys can include it in the conversation if you want.
Oh, okay. Skype. Chris, got you on the mic.
Hi there. How are you?
Hey, good. Thanks. We're just looking up something here. Changing the screen aspect ratio. Normal. Let's see. Normal preserves the content original aspect ratio and size. Stretch you don't want. Panoramic you don't want.
Normal.
Wide you don't want. Hi. Since you can't do anything, might as well hang out. Okay, we're going to come back to who was it? Lori, I think. After Chris. Chris, you don't even have a TV, do you?
No, still not.
You don't watch
completely. I spend a ton of time in front of a computer monitor, but not in front of a TV monitor.
Mm-hmm.
None of these weird contraptions in our house.
Mm-hmm. So you don't want to watch TV or watch movies in your house?
Oh, I do watch, but I watch
on your computer,
on iPad. I watch on the computer. Watch different ways. Yeah, I know. we have other things in the house, but not a TV.
Not a TV. Okay.
But I can talk about editing and computer screens and things.
Oh no, that's fine. That's what we're going to talk about. It's just the last call that we were talking about was TVs and aspect ratios and overscanning and that sort of thing.
Well, at least I don't have to to worry about
You don't have to
overscanning
no.
these things.
I've got my iPhone 7 here, so I can take some pictures and display them in the P3 color gamut.
Oh.
Which is awfully nice.
Okay. Does it record in the wider color gamut?
Yeah. Unfortunately, my iMac doesn't. I've got the 2014 iMac that doesn't have the P3, but the new iMacs and the 9.7-inch iPad Pro and the new iPhones all are in that. Apple's pushing everybody to the wider color gamut on their products, which is pretty cool.
That's good.
You can tell. You can really tell.
Yeah.
You can tell as long as you watch it on a display that does have that gamut.
Well, that's it. And with the and I posted my review of the iPhone. One of the things that I did was I included some image samples, but I had to check the right boxes in Photoshop to get the JPEG I posted on the web to have the P3 color profile embedded in it, because it really wanted to convert it to standard RGB, and then nobody could see it.
But what's the fallback for those whose computers can only show standard RGB?
Their color management does the best thing.
And speaking of photos, we have on the line here our regular guest at this time, Chris Marquardt. Chris, welcome to the show.
Hey, Scott, how are you?
Good. Thank you so much for being here. I know you're here every week, but I'm so glad to have you on with me this week, because I've got a question for you that I've been wondering about myself. I take a lot of photos, as most of us do, and sometimes I want to display them I always want to display them on the computer screen to edit them and whatever, but I never know if what I'm seeing on the screen is accurate to what I intended. It might look kind of close, but I really don't know what should I be thinking about, looking for, what kind of settings do I need to worry about if I really want what I see on the screen to accurately reflect what I took as a photo.
Well, that's kind of that's a very common thing, that you have something on your screen. We always have to understand that this computer screen it's an analog device. I mean, there's digital signals going into it, but then there's an analog display, and there's a calibration process in the factory. They try to kind of set it to a middle ground that works for everyone, but there's always slight differences. And now what you might get something on the screen that has a bit too much green or a bit too much red or a bit too much blue in it, and let's just imagine your computer shows a bit too much green. And then you edit a picture of a person and you adjust it so it looks right to you. But unbeknownst to you, the computer screen gives you too much green. So you end up putting more red into the picture to
compensate for that.
Compensate for that green.
Yeah.
So when you give that picture to that person, they will look at it and they'll get a heart attack because their face is all red all of a sudden. So that's kind of the problem. And it depends on the system that you're on, but there's a process that's called calibration.
Well, I certainly do.
Profiling. There are different terms for that.
Yeah, I do that with TVs, of course, and
Yes.
I think about this a lot in terms of what does the content creator intend, and with standard dynamic range HD content, it's well defined, and I can calibrate a TV to that standard. Is there a similar standard for photography?
Well, in general, there are a few things that I always try to think about when I work on a new system, and that is the two major things are the colors right and the contrasts right. If the display gives you too strong contrasts or too low contrasts, and that's what we usually mean when we talk about a gamma setting for the screen. That is kind of that'll be misleading, and in both situations, when you edit photos and when you view photos. So that's kind of true for both. The gamma setting needs to be right, and then there is, the color settings, obviously, as in too much green or too little blue. And there are ways to get your computer into that ballpark. I mean, there are very, very involved ways that will use a lot of hardware and stuff, but there are kind of simple ways to get you to the start. What's your suggestion? What's your lowest cost suggestion for a TV? It's probably a test chart of some sort.
Yes, in terms of users who want to get their TV close to the standard that professionals use to master their material, I usually recommend a disc, a Blu-ray disc like Disney Wow, which stands for World of Wonder. Or Spears and Munsell has a disc called HD Benchmark. Joe Kane company, Digital Video, his company has a disc called Digital Video Essentials HD Basics. And in all of those cases, they have test patterns that let you set the contrast and the brightness and the where the color is roughly. You can go in and individually tweak red, green, and blue if you have a meter and a more sophisticated software program.
Right.
But that costs more money.
And that's kind of the path that I would suggest for someone who wants to set up their computer monitor. You won't have to get a disc. There are websites that give you test charts that you can pull up on your web browser. For example, photofriday.com is one. When you scroll all the way to the bottom there's a monitor calibration link, and that gives you a chart that will show you a brightness scale, and then it'll give you some instructions on how to change the contrast on your monitor and the brightness to kind of so that you see all the different squares on there. And that's a very good way to get you at least in the general direction if you're not sure.
In the ballpark.
In the ballpark. The second way is there is free software. It's built into every Windows system and every Mac system that you can use to get some calibration going. On Windows 10, I've written it down here. I'm on a Mac here, but I've written it down here. In Settings, System Display, Advanced Display Settings, there's a button called Color Calibration. That's a wizard that will guide you through some visual calibration. So it'll show you some things and then tell you to adjust something on your computer screen until you see something specific. On the Mac, you will find something called the Display Calibration Assistant under the System Preferences. And then in the Displays section, there's a Calibrate button. And that will bring up something similar. It's a screen that will have a little patterns and things on it, and then it asks you to change the brightness until you only see a gray area instead of some pattern in there. So it will kind of guide you through a few things, and there's an expert setting where it can go even deeper. And those are definitely a good way to go because they will get you very close to where you want to be.
So
and then
it's really a matter of calibration, like I talk about all the time with TVs.
It is the same thing, pretty much. Yes.
Yeah.
And then, of course, even the same manufacturers make these hardware calibration devices. X-Rite makes the Color Monkey.
Yep.
There's a Spider 5 Pro and Elite and different ones. There's an i1 Display Pro also by X-Rite, and they range from anywhere between 150 and there's no real upper limit. I'd say $150 up to $250 is probably something that will get you pretty close. And those work very similar to the ones that you would use for the TV. You plug them in on the computer, plug them into the USB port. You install some software, and then you have this color meter that you pretty much put on the screen.
Yeah, what we call a contact meter. Won't work with a projector, but because it actually sits on the screen and reads
I'm pretty sure the hardware in these things is exactly the same. So you will get some test charts displayed. It will read them, and then it will create an ICC profile. That is a piece of software that sits in between the program that wants to display a picture and the screen, and it's kind of a translation table. So that profile will then contain the information such as this screen tends to display too much green. And so it has a correction value for the green in there. And whatever your computer wants to show on the screen will then be kind of corrected on the way. And you will get an output that is much closer to where you want this to be. But one thing, with all that, and that's all fine and good, but one thing that I find even more important is that with TVs, you don't usually carry them around with you. But if you are on a laptop, if you edit your photos on a laptop, you're editing them on a moving target. What I mean is you move that around, and the surroundings of your monitor, what's behind your monitor, will change, and that is what influences your edits. If you work in front of a white wall, you will have different results in your edits. If you take the same picture and edit that in front of a black wall, it will come out differently.
Wow. That's all super great advice. Thanks so much for talking with us about it. That's Chris Marquardt. You can get him at discoverthetopfloor.com. This is Scott Wilkinson, the home theater geek, filling in for Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
We're out.
I think I've used up our segment, right?
Yeah. Why, yes, you have.
I could go on and on about this. It was just getting interesting.
It was just starting to get interesting. I know. I did get your website right? Discoverthetopfloor.com?
That's it, yeah.
Oh, good.
Absolutely. Fine.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much.
The thing I wanted to go into is moving targets. That's kind of a difficult thing.
It's a very difficult thing, but it's the same thing I deal with. And the answer to the question, why don't they calibrate TVs at the factory? Because they don't know what room it's going to be in.
Of course.
Color. So much of color is mental too, right? I mean, I had a friend who was a color expert who talked about memory color all the time. The idea that your brain will actually process objects and move the color in them because it says, "Oh, it's an apple. I know what color apples are."
Yeah.
Oh, and you see a white wall, and no matter what color light source shines on that wall, it will be a white wall for you because your brain does miracles. Yeah.
We can't trust our brains. They're not trustworthy.
They are not trustworthy. No, I agree with you. I totally agree. I'm sad to say, but it is true.
All right.
Okay, Chris. Thanks again, man. That was great. Well, really good.
Enjoy your fight with the phone system.
Oh, man. It's going to win.
It's going to win. But no, we're going to win.
For a while. I'll keep watching and cringe here for a while.
Okay, great, man. Thanks again.
All right, take care, guys.
See you later.
Sure.
That was cool.
That's great stuff. Yeah, talk to people about color. Color. Everybody thinks, color. It's simple. Primary color, red, green, blue. It's easy.
Right.
And it's so not. And even when you get to like the first layer of it, you're not even close to the center of the Tootsie Pop. It's amazing. It's just the memory color one is the one that got me, like I said. My old friend Bruce, who is no longer with us, he was... that was his thing, was color. And the memory color thing was the one that always blew me away. It's like, if you see an object and you know what color it's supposed to be, your brain will just recolor it to that color.
Right. If you see a purple apple, it'll start looking red or green.
Right.
Probably red.
It's so weird.
Yeah. The brain is a strange thing.
And if you look at it, if you blow it up through a loop or something where you can't see the context anymore, you see a completely different color.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Scott Wilkinson here, the home theater geek and editor of avsforum.com, where you can find out all kinds of stuff about all things audio and video. I'm joined today by Jason Snell, Apple expert and podcaster extraordinaire.
Hello.
And we're talking with Lori from Napa. We were talking about the Vizio TV. And Lori, you with us?
Yes, I am.
Excellent. Well, I looked up you were asking about this weird kind of diagonal line thing on your Vizio D series. I assume you bought it like this year, so it's a 2016 probably?
Yes, about a month ago.
Yeah. And I looked up and I said the only thing I could think of was that it might be in the... what's called overscan. And some TVs, many TVs, most TVs, will take the picture and they'll expand it slightly beyond the edges of the screen. And the reason they do that is that if you don't, occasionally on some channels, and you noted that many channels, every channel looks different somehow, you'll see what we call digital hash, which is little tiny, basically kind of a digital code flashing up and near the top, at the top edge of the screen, like that. And
that used to happen on my Samsung, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And if you do something called overscanning, basically it takes the image and it makes it slightly bigger so that kind of gets pushed off the edge of the screen. The problem with that is that it involves a process called scaling, and that can lead to other kinds of weird artifacts. And I haven't seen the one you're describing, but that's what comes to mind. And so I was trying to find out if there was an overscan control specifically in the Vizio D series, and I don't find one. What I find I found the screen aspect ratio controls, which is normally where that thing would be found. And really all I can find is normal, panoramic, wide, and zoom. And you want normal.
Okay.
And there might be some overscanning in that, and I don't see any way to turn it off at this point. So that's the only thing I can think of.
It's a small problem. It's typically on things I don't want to watch anyway.
Well, good.
I was just intrigued by it. And at one time when I was monkeying around with the settings, there was actually a moire pattern going on back there, and I was able to fix that, to back out of that and, redo the settings. Yeah, it's a small
issue.
My bigger problem is with my iPad.
Well, unfortunately, we have Jason Snell here to talk about it.
And before you switch me over, I just have always wanted to say that aside from my grandchildren, you have the best laugh in the world.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so happy to hear you say that.
Thank you for your help.
Well, thank you. Jason, first of all, give us a hint about what your problem is with the iPad.
Oh, yes. Okay, so I have an iPad 2. And so I have an iPad 2. I have an iPhone 6S Plus, and I have a PC. So when I'm syncing these devices, I do it two ways. I do it over Wi-Fi, and periodically I'll plug them into the computer and back them up that way just to make sure. Well, what's happening is that when I plug my iPad into my computer, the only choices I'm given are, 1, to set it up as a new iPad, or 2, to restore it from this backup, which was in January.
Oh, boy.
I know. So it's really, really, I have no idea. It just started doing that.
Well, yeah, it sounds like your PC looks at that iPad and thinks that it doesn't know what it is and it can't identify it. So are you using the latest version of iTunes on the PC, and are you using the latest version of iTunes on the iPad 2?
Yes.
Or latest version of the iOS on the iPad 2, I guess I'm saying.
Well, yeah, and see what you can't since it's just a 2, I couldn't use iOS 10.
Right, you're stuck on 9.
This started happening before 10 even came out. This started happening when I still had 9 point whatever it is. Right now. So, and then iTunes on the iPad just it automatically updates, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think you have to agree, but it should do it automatically. So, wow, this is a tough one because what's really happening is your PC thinks when you attach it that it's corrupted in some way, or it's not recognized it, and it thinks that you're either setting it up as a brand new iPad or restoring. So if it offers to set it up as a new iPad, you might be okay to let it try that, because it may be, if it's not restoring from a backup, when you're trying to set it up as a new iPad, I think it doesn't do anything to your iPad. It just pulls the data off of the iPad and syncs it. But I know that's scary, because what if you lose your data and you haven't backed it up?
Yeah, it would be nice if it didn't do anything.
Do you do an iCloud backup?
Well, I do. I have iCloud backup turned on, and I tried turning it off. I've tried a lot of different troubleshooting things. But I noticed that when I go in and I say, try to choose sync now, it's grayed out.
So how about for the iCloud? So that may be related to your problem if you're trying to do a Wi-Fi sync and it's failing. But you should definitely...
And then I turned that off,
and
I plugged it back in. It still won't do it.
I think... Yeah. So I think your first step is, if you can do an iCloud backup, do that, because then you will have a backup of your iPad regardless. And that's, you go to settings, tap on iCloud, and then make sure iCloud backup is turned on, and see what the last backup was, and tap backup now and see if you can get it to backup, because then you're going to be safe either way. And then I would say you might want to attach to your PC and set it up as a new iPad and see what happens, because you've got a backup on iCloud if you really need to bail out. But it may just move you through that process and lead you out the other side, and you may be okay. The other thing you could try is to try a few different resets where you go to the general submenu in the settings app, and you could do things. You don't want to do erase all content because that will wipe your iPad, but you could do reset all settings. And sometimes that will kind of wipe out your some of your preferences and things, and you're going to have to put your passwords back in. It doesn't erase all your content, though, and it may clear out some weird setting that is making the PC feel like it doesn't know what it's seeing when it's attached. So these are like all things you can try. I can't say for certain that any one of them will work, but I'd say number one is make sure you're doing an iCloud backup, because that way at least you could restore from backup if something really goes wrong.
That's a good idea. Okay, I'll try that. And I don't understand, in terms of the iCloud backup, I noticed that when I go to, iCloud.com, all of my contacts aren't in there. And when I put a contact into my phone, or like all the contacts in my phone are not on my iPad. And I don't understand why. Shouldn't they all be synced up?
They should, and Scott is smiling right now because he has this exact same problem and was telling me about it during the break. I would say one thing to do is in settings, go under contacts in the settings app and see what settings are syncing, because I've actually found, first off, that my settings sync more reliably using cloud services and not iTunes. But under contacts, you can see what accounts you're syncing your contacts with. And so are you syncing them using iCloud? Are you syncing them using, you can sync them using Google too. See what's going on there and potentially even add in an account and make sure that it's syncing that way. Because I've seen that happen before, and unfortunately contact syncing is not as reliable on iOS as it should be. But there are I'd say if one path doesn't work for you, try a different path, and maybe that one will work. That's what I end up doing, is moving from sort of plan A to plan B until I get what I want.
Yeah, I'm having the same problem.
It just works, right?
Yeah, it just works. What could go wrong with huge amounts of data and clouds and computers, and that's probably fine.
It's just supposed to work. And then the iCloud on my computer, it just has a handful of contacts. It doesn't have anywhere near the number of contacts I have on my phone. And everything is set up to, iCloud backup.
Yeah, so the iCloud backup is a backup of your total system. So check to see about iCloud syncing, check on your phone, and check on your iPad, and make sure that they're syncing to the same account in the cloud, and see if that solves the problem. That's going to be my guess. And that's separate from the iCloud backup.
Lori, thank you so much for the call.
Okay, thank you.
All right. This is Scott Wilkinson, the home theater geek, filling in for Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More of your questions coming up.
You're out.
Oh, contacts, man. Contacts. That is the worst.
And it's so important to me to have my contacts on my phone.
There is nothing worse than thinking, I know what I'm going to do, and then you pop it open, and you're like, but where'd that person go? I need to call that person now, and it just disappears.
It's not there, yeah.
This is a years-long problem with Apple going from wired to wireless syncing, and I think that's the biggest problem is they have to keep the iTunes stuff around. But they want everybody to use the cloud, I think at this point they're just ignoring or neglecting the wired stuff altogether, and it's a mess. It's a mess. The simplest thing is to sync via one cloud service and say, this is the one I'm going to use, and it can be Google just as easily as it could be iCloud. I think it can be like Exchange. There are lots of different places, but like pick that one and have that be your syncing.
I'm going to try iCloud. I'm going to try iCloud.
Give it a shot.
iTunes ain't working.
Yeah. I don't recommend people use iTunes. I think like if you can back up to the cloud at this point, I think it's actually more reliable than iTunes. And every now and then, if you want, you can do like an iTunes backup. I think she's conflating maybe an iCloud backup with syncing your contacts, right? And the iCloud backup is just like a blob of your entire phone data. It's not the discrete bits, which is confusing, right? That there's but I send everything to iCloud, but like your iCloud backup is not syncing your contacts. And that's the problem with Apple saying it's iCloud, it's all one thing. Yeah. And it's really not. It's like there's a backup service, and there's a contact syncing service, and there's a music service, and they're all like unrelated bits.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so if you're backing up via iCloud, that doesn't mean you're syncing your contacts or your bookmarks or your photos or your notes or your calendar or anything else.
So in other words, syncing your contacts and calendar, which are the two that I'm concerned about, are two separate things.
Yeah, and they are they're sort of interrelated because they go together on so many services, but they're not related to the backup, right? Like doing a backup doesn't sync your contacts and calendars. It just makes a backup of your device that has contacts and calendars on it. And I think maybe that's what I was trying to read out of her question a little bit, but it's hard to say.
Yeah,
it's so hard to say when you can't. This is why it's a hard job for Leo, right? You have to
really
remote control without seeing anything.
Yeah, no kidding.
I'll tell you, this show is really aired well in Southern California.
Oh,
Dang,
really?
We got a lot of Southern California calls. I'm really impressed.
Yeah. Well, it's on KFI. AM 640, more stimulating talk.
Formerly, as somebody pointed out earlier, formerly the Dodger station.
Yep.
That's where Vin Scully was for many a year.
We should say something about Vin Scully today. Oh, really?
It's in fact, it is the top of the third right now. Yeah, they're simulcasting Vin on radio and TV in San Francisco.
Excellent.
Too. Under the cerulean blue skies at Dodger Stadium, have a Farmer John Dodger dog. Yeah, oh yeah.
What are the Dodgers ahead?
No, the Giants are winning. 5-0.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I'm in the Bay Area. I've better be careful here. She's wearing a Giants.
Just look at the logo. It's right there.
All right.
That's why is the orange and black Apple Watch here, people? I think there's only one answer. I'm a big fan of Oregon State. Nope, that's not it. Halloween. Nope, that's not it.
That's not it.
Nope, not the Baltimore Orioles.
Not the Baltimore Orioles, although they're also winning right now. Orange and black teams. Good day. October. Good month for orange and black teams. Under the cerulean blue sky. It's a shade of blue. It's a Vin Scullyism.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
6 minutes past the hour.
Right. We have 200 seconds left.
This must be a really weird show to watch the video archive or the live stream of, where it's like behind the scenes.
That's what's cool about it, I think.
Right. You never know what might happen. A guy in a bear suit might walk by at any moment. The radio people just don't even know. You put on weird hats.
I mean, look at all the weird hats we could be wearing.
Yeah, I know. I mean, this whole.
Does it really?
Oh, does it?
It depends. If there's really interesting stuff,
well, then if there's interesting stuff, it gets kept. So it'll definitely get cut out. Then what we're doing. This Twit. One of the funny things about Twit is that it is definitely a hat-based culture. Like their wacky hat. I've never seen so many wacky hats.
Wacky hats, man.
As at Twit, it is amazing.
That's Leo's influence, no doubt.
Yeah. Slow-mo. This is a series. This is my loaner from Apple. So this is a Apple Watch Series 2. But my the band is mine, and my regular Apple Watch Series 0 is also this color. So it's indistinguishable from the one that is mine. This is also a loaner. I will buy one of these eventually. Oh, yeah.
Is that the 7?
People were asking, this is the jet black 7. Let me get a good, ooh. You can see the reflection on it. You can probably see my fingerprints on it, too. But I like it because does it pick up fingerprints? Sure it does. But so does the front of the phone because they have basically the same texture. But, yeah. It's
how do you feel about no headphone jack?
I've reached the last stage, which is acceptance. I didn't like it. I usually use in-ear monitors. That's what I use, and because I do like music.
Yeah.
And now I have an adapter for that. But when I'm walking the dog or running, I'm already using Bluetooth headphones for that. They don't sound as good, but they're good enough. But they're good enough for podcasts, and and the wireless is a little bit better for that. But yeah. It's not my favorite decision on their part, but it is what it is. Don't love it.
It is what it is.
You just got being an Apple user is accepting that Apple tells you when it's time to stop using certain kinds of technology. They tap you on the shoulder and they're like, "That floppy drive, it's going. You got to go." I'm like, "All right, I guess it's time." Yes, you can use the adapter if you really want to.
Yeah, I've never been happy with the sound quality of Bluetooth.
No, it's
even
not.
aptX, even the high end.
It's not, and Apple will stream AAC and all that, but it's still a resampled and.
I think we're about to go.
Woo!
Woo-hoo! Hour number 3. Hey, everybody, it's Scott Wilkinson, the home theater geek and editor of AVSforum.com. filling in for Leo Laporte, the tech guy, who I think is coming to the end of his vacation, shedding a tear, I'm sure, by about now. He'll be back next week to answer all of your geeky tech questions, but for now, you have me talking about home theater, audio, video, all that great stuff. And Jason Snell is here. Woohoo!
I'll answer all your Apple questions under the cerulean blue skies at Dodgers Stadium. Try a Dodger dog from Farmer John. It's a very bad Vin Scully, but just a shout out. One of, I believe, the stations that we have on this network is KFI, which was the voice of the Dodgers for many years with Vin Scully, and it's his last day on the air.
Today is his last day on the air, and he's doing it from San Francisco.
From San Francisco. He's just down the road.
Just down the road. And
so,
I read something.
We love you, Vinny.
We do. I remember going to the Dodger game. I grew up in L.A., and I went to the Dodger games with my grandfather when I was a kid, and everyone was listening to the transistor radios. We were talking about this off the air. You could hear Vin Scully throughout the stadium because of everybody listening on their transistor radios. But what an institution! What a great guy! Yeah. I mean, wow.
So, and it's not just. I mean, you could argue. Well, yeah, he worked this job for a long time. He was the Brooklyn Dodgers announcer when he started. Right?
Yeah,
it's that
like
long.
in the 1950, I think it was.
And the fact that it's not just his longevity, because he's the best at it. That's the amazing thing, is it's the guy who's the best at it and has done it essentially the longest. Mm-hmm. And that, how fortunate are all of us that we got to listen to him tell those stories. And he did it all by himself too, which I'll tell you, it's been great being here with you to share the load today for 3 hours as we've been doing. But
no one was there to share his load.
Vinny just does a whole baseball game by himself. It's amazing.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Really amazing. The other thing I want to say to everybody is that tonight is the beginning of the Jewish high holidays, Rosh Hashanah. And so I just want to give a shout out to everybody for a Happy New Year. And as they say in Yiddish, Good Yontif, Good Yor. I'll be blowing the shofar starting tonight and throughout the next 10 days of awe, which is what it's often called. When my wife and I moved into our current house right around this time of year, it was the 10 days of oi. But be that as it may, we're here to talk to you and to answer your questions about home theater, audio, video, TVs, speakers, Blu-ray, all that kind of stuff, as well as
iPhones, iPads, Macs,
that's
you
right.
name iCloud frustrations, whatever.
And we've had a few of those today.
It's shocking, yes. It just works.
Yes. But for the moment, let's go to James in Redlands, who I believe is in the chat room as Keith43. Hey, James.
Hey, man. How you doing?
Good. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. It's a little bit different listening to you for, a couple of hours rather than a 15-minute segment.
My little segment usually, but certainly happy to be here.
No, it's nice to hear you guys. You guys are doing a great job.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So, I'm hoping my first question is pretty basic. Now, I used to work in an electronics store back in 2010, and I picked up a 47-inch LCD HD TV. I still have it.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, they used to push Samsung. It's good to go, right? So now I'm thinking, is it better to keep what I have now, considering there's the ultra-high dynamic range TVs out there, or here's my main thing. My daughter likes to use Xbox. I know there's the new Xbox coming out, or that's already out.
Already out, yeah.
Yeah, is there really going to be that big of a difference for her and me just using the Xbox with, Blu-ray and all that? Should I upgrade?
Well,
I'll probably increase the screen size. But
yeah.
For a living room, it's a decent size, living room,
mm-hmm.
but is it worth upgrading?
Well, I would say not unless you upgrade both of them. Because the current TV is undoubtedly 1080p or maybe even less, but let's assume that it's 1080p.
I believe it's 1080p and 120 hertz.
120 hertz. Okay, so that's a fairly nice TV for its day. But there's no reason to upgrade to the Xbox One S because it doesn't. I believe I'm not a gamer, but I'm going to have to. As I recall, it does not do native 4K games. It upscales games to 4K?
From what I know, the output of it, even through an HDMI cable, which I could be wrong, is only 720.
Well, that I don't know. I'd have to look. I'll look into that. But it also, the new one can also play Ultra HD Blu-ray discs, which are true 4K.
I did not know that.
Yes, and I just did that over at Leo's a few days ago. And so it can do that, and it'll play native 4K. It'll output high dynamic range, and it will not output Atmos bit streams, I believe. As I recall, that is one of its limitations, and one reason why I don't recommend it if what you're mostly going to do is watch Ultra HD Blu-ray discs, because a lot of those do have Atmos on them. Of course, then you need an Atmos sound system, and that's a whole other can of worms.
Yeah, but me and my daughter, she watches YouTube, and other people make games of playing Xbox together and blah blah blah. So I was looking into investing in something called a capture card, which will take the output from the Xbox, which is still displayed on the TV, and you can use that for uploading and sharing, and so other people can watch you play. So the capture card and saving that data, I believe, is a different thing. But just my concern was, at this time with the TV, it's getting close to maybe 7 years old. Is it worth really upgrading? So
is the TV working well still? Has it got any problems?
Yeah, it seems to be working pretty well, and I have a basic sound bar, which, because the speakers on that TV they're not the best.
No, as I recall, the Samsung, it's a Samsung, right?
No, the TV's an LG.
An LG, okay. In either case, the speakers on virtually any TV are crap.
Yeah, but they're in the back.
I know. Samsung did the same thing. Why would you put the speakers pointing backwards? Yeah, that's ridiculous. Yeah. Well, they wanted a thin TV, and if you put the speakers in the front, then it adds to the bezel around the screen, and they wanted that to be as small as possible.
Yeah. So I got a sound bar, a basic one, and it helps out much more.
Yeah. I would say there's no need to upgrade at this point. There's certainly no need to upgrade to the Xbox One S if you're going to keep that TV. If at some point, you're going to upgrade that TV, and it'll probably be 4K, maybe even HDR. And at that point, then I would say, yeah, it might be time to upgrade to the Xbox One S.
Okay. Awesome. I do have another question.
Okay.
I feel like it could be way off on a different tangent because it involves your co-host you have there right now, or your dual co-hosting. Well, I have an Android phone. My fiance has an iPhone, and with an iPhone you can FaceTime. I was wondering if there's anything besides Skype that is similar to that. I don't want to throw you guys off track, but
that's a great setup for an easy answer, which is Google has just released Duo, which is like FaceTime, and I haven't checked this, but I believe the intent is that it's out on App Store and on the Android Play Store, so that you can talk to your fiance in something that's very much like FaceTime, except that it runs on both Android and iOS. So you should look for Duo in the Play Store and in the App Store.
Oh, awesome.
From Google.
Cool.
How about that? Ask and ye shall receive.
I had 2 questions.
Unfortunately, we're running out of time here. Thanks so much for calling. I really appreciate it. It's Scott Wilkinson, the home theater geek, filling in for Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Back after this.
You're out.
I'm out.
I swear to God, that wasn't a setup.
No, but what a great! I mean, that was a perfect, quick answer.
I mean, that's the answer. Is you get Duo from Google, and it is essentially FaceTime, and it runs cross-platform.
What do you know?
So that's the answer.
That is awesome. Awesome.
So that was a great question. Glad I had an answer for it.
Yeah,
I love those are my favorite questions, the ones I know the answer to.
Yeah, me too. Somebody here. Oh, the Sue the Writer is in. Lashana Tova, indeed. That is the traditional greeting at Rosh Hashanah. Yeah. I did the Yiddish one. Good Yontif, Good Yor. But Lashana Tova, absolutely.
JJ in the chat room says, "Don't you think Duo is fragmentation when it comes to Google's communication platform?" I'd say Google's communication platform strategy right now is as many things as possible and see what sticks. And I think it's good. You're right. You can do Hangouts. They've got Google. They've got text in Google Hangouts. GChat was. I mean, there's so many with Google Plus. They've tried so many different things. So yeah, sure, it's fragmentation. But I would say if it takes off and people like it, then they will probably lean into it. And I think they should put it on stock Android too, because I think just the advantage of having a platform owner have a simple voice chat like FaceTime on iOS. I mean, it's like, yeah, I think it's good that they're trying to do that.
Yeah, I agree.
And for people, I'm sure they've heard what I've heard, which is people who have iOS devices who say, why can't I FaceTime with Android? And there's a whole backstory there about how Apple thought that this stuff that they used in FaceTime was not patent encumbered, and it turned out that it was. And so they were going to open source it, and then they never did. But with Duo, it runs on both platforms. People can use it cross-platform. I think it's really great if you've got a mixed family of devices, Android and iOS stuff.
Cool.
I know a friend of mine who's got his wife's whole family's on Android, and he's super happy that Duo exists now because it's not a problem.
Excellent. Emily the Strange in the chat room is asking, does 120 hertz or 60 hertz matter for regular TV, one that's not used for gaming? The answer is not as much as the manufacturers would have you believe, because with 120 hertz TV, you can engage what's called frame interpolation. And that basically synthesizes frames in between the actual frames in the image to sharpen up motion. And it does that, but it also introduces a problem called the soap opera effect, which makes movies in particular look like they were shot on video. And a lot of people object to that very strongly. So if you turn that off, you can, with 120 hertz TV, you can flash each frame with frame interpolation off. You can still flash the real frames twice or 5 times in the case of 24 frames per second, and that's the equivalent to what they do in the movie theaters, which is triple flashing. Each frame that you watch in a movie theater is actually shown 3 times. With a black frame in between. That's called black frame insertion. And having a 120 hertz panel that does that will sharpen up motion somewhat without introducing the soap opera effect. So I think 120 hertz is worthwhile, but not for frame interpolation. Hey, everybody, it's Scott Wilkinson, the home theater geek and editor of avsforum.com. I'm here with Jason Snell, and we're talking about home theater and Apple products and even cross-pollination between Apple and Android, huh?
Yeah, that was a great question. And I'm glad we had an answer ready that Google has thought of his marriage to be and is providing Duo for them to use.
A mixed marriage there.
Yep, indeed.
Well, let's go right away to another call. We got Glenn from Louisiana. Glenn, are you with us?
Yes. Hello, Scott. Hello, Jason.
Hey, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to get through. The question that I have for you, Scott, is when you, in a DVD disc, the video that is encoded in it, how many lines, horizontal or vertical, of resolution are they really there?
Are you talking about an actual DVD as opposed to a Blu-ray?
I suppose it's a Blu-ray, yeah.
Yeah, okay. DVD is what's called standard definition. And so what that means is 480 lines top to bottom and 720 lines right to left. Okay, so it's 720 by 480. Is
720 by 480 in a 16 by 9 aspect.
Well, yes, and when you mention that, I'm just going to quickly try and see here if 720 by 480 is in fact 16 by 9. I don't think it is, but then there'll be a letterbox. You know, they'll use some of those lines in the top and bottom of the image to be just black.
And some of the DVDs are anamorphic, right? Where they fill the picture and they set a flag that says "stretch this" on playback.
Exactly.
But it's still not any more information. It's just not. It's using the information that would otherwise be the black bars,
right,
to give you a little bit more.
It's a little bit more, but you have to have a display then that can handle that. Usually, that's for projectors.
Yeah.
That's an aspect ratio of 1.5. and usually at 4:3 is 1.33. Movies are 1.85 or 2.35. So yeah, you either need to have it encoded. The disc will either be encoded anamorphically, or they'll just waste some of that information as top and bottom black bars, which are called letterbox bars. On a Blu-ray, you have 1920 pixels left to right and 10,080 pixels top to bottom. So that's
1080.
1080. Sorry. Yes, 1080. So that's 1920 by 1080, sometimes called 1080p. DVDs are sometimes called 480p. That P stands for progressive, which means that all the lines are sent at the same time. There's also interlaced, but we don't really talk about, well, we do talk about that in broadcast. Anyway, you got a lot more pixels on a Blu-ray than you do on a DVD.
Right. So, the DVDs that are being produced now haven't offered any more resolution than when they came out in the 90s.
Nope, none whatsoever. That was a format that got baked into the cake, and it's the same now as it was then.
Mm-hmm. So the reason I was wondering this, I like watching a lot of documentaries on PBS,
mm-hmm.
and more often than not, I see that they're offered on DVD and not on Blu-ray.
Mm.
And so, the equipment that you have, whether it's the player or the TVs, have been able to upscale that, and you're
Correct.
able to see it on a high-definition TV. But now when you buy a TV now, most likely you're going to get a 4K TV, which is 3840 by 2160.
Precisely. Yep, so, exactly right.
If you're starting from a DVD source, basically you're going to be going through a double upscaling there?
No, it's only going to be a single upscale, but it's going to be a lot of upscaling.
A lot of upscaling.
We were talking about upscaling earlier, and somebody in the chat room mentioned something about, just imagine upscaling VHS tape to 4K. And VHS tape had only, 240 lines of resolution or something really, really low. And so you upscale that. The more upscaling you do, the more problems can crop up. And the more you can see any limitations in the original signal. So upscaling a Blu-ray to 4K is going to be better than upscaling VHS tape, let's put it that way.
Right.
But it's still going to be an awful lot of upscaling. And on the other hand, the studios put out what they put out. And PBS, if all they have is DVD and that's what you want to watch, you might consider looking for that documentary online, a streaming system, maybe from PBS even. They might offer a stream that might be in high definition. I don't know, but that might be an alternative to look at.
Where they will offer the entire resolution as they broadcast it.
Exactly. They might not have taken the time or the money to make Blu-ray discs, because that costs some money. Any physical media is expensive. So, they might have said, well, we don't want to incur the cost of making a Blu-ray disc and making, thousands of copies or whatever. Instead, we'll just make it available streaming, and we'll do the DVD for those who want an actual disc. So that's a possibility.
So would we see the same result going from a Blu-ray to a UHD Blu-ray on a 4K TV? Would we see the same result that it is going from a DVD to HD?
No. Well, in a sense, yes. I mean, a Blu-ray will get upscaled to 2160p on a 4K TV, but it doesn't have to go as far. So the result is not going to be as bad. It has less distance to go, so it doesn't have to work as hard, shall we say.
I understand. And is there a place that you can go, like where they will have a library of what is offered on UHD Blu-ray? What content is available
on UHD Blu-ray? Sure, Blu-ray.com maintains a list of Blu-rays and now Ultra HD Blu-rays. So that's the place I would start. JJ4884 in the chat room is talking about maybe going to pbs.org/video, and you might be able to see what they have available there in terms of discs and maybe even streaming. I haven't been there myself. We can go there real quick and check it out. But there's a ton of material there. That takes me to the local station here in the Bay Area. But I would check that out as well and see if some of what you want to watch is available as streaming in high def, which might be only available in standard def on disc. Yep.
Yeah. And I've been waiting. Some of those titles, hopefully that they will be converted to Blu-ray. Now we're
costs
going
money.
To 4K, and so I was thinking, well, are they just going to jump over to 4K or?
They might. Thanks so much for the call. It's Scott Wilkinson, the home theater geek, filling in for Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Back after this.
You're out.
I have several movies that I love that are not available on Blu-ray.
Really?
That are on like iTunes and Amazon in HD as downloads.
There you go.
And it's the same story, right? It's like you can take an HD master and put it on a streaming service or
so much
or
less
a la carte
expensive,
than making a disc, right?
Yes, precisely right. Precisely right. That's exactly the point. Thanks, JJ4884.
Yeah.
That was a good link.
Good addition.
Yeah.
I hate that when you see something in HD and then it's never available in home video in HD.
I know.
And it happens. That
happens a lot.
Yeah, I have what is it? When the Giants won the World Series in 2010, I have a couple of those games in HD. But the whole series was broadcast in HD, but it was put out on DVD. There was never a Blu-ray released. There are like a handful of them on iTunes and HD. And it was too early. And even though the HD source exists, they sort of missed their moment. They're never going to go back and re-release that stuff, and so it's just kind of gone.
Yeah,
Same with a couple of movies. It's just
exactly right.
It's too bad.
It's too bad, but that's what it is.
That's the story of TV, right? Is that they throw some stuff away, and some stuff is never available in a better format. And it costs a lot of money to do physical media. It costs a lot of money to refurb old media, like we were talking about, like the Star Trek remasters and things like that. That costs a lot of money, and for most things, there isn't a market for it. Not a big enough market.
That's exactly right. Creamy Corncob is saying they don't even make 60 hertz panels anymore, do they? Yes, they do. The very low end of the TV spectrum, you still can get 60 hertz panels. That's absolutely true. I still like 120. Key 43, are they trying to go over 240, or is that is that more than enough right now? I think it's more than enough. I don't think many people are going to go over 240. You could go to 480. I've seen some examples of that, but I don't think there's any reason to.
The one that kills me is that all the TV in the UK is 25 frames per second.
Oh, sure,
because
Europe is 25 frames per second.
And it's madness. If the H3 transition was the best time for everybody to agree, we're going to do everything at this frame rate. And they're like, nope, we're not. We're going to be one off from film.
I don't know why that. Well, film in Europe is 25.
Oh, interesting.
It is.
And what I heard was that it's actually related to the electronic frequency.
Well, to the power frequency.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Here we have 60, there they have 50 hertz.
Right.
Exactly right. I don't know. I don't get it either, because now we're coming up on ATSC 3.0, which is the broadcast standard for UHD. And they've just recently decided what the audio format they're going to use. And it's different in the US and the rest of the world. In the US, it's going to be Dolby AC4. And in Europe, anyway, and probably the rest of the world, it's going to be MPEG-H. And I'm going, why is that? How can that make any sense? I don't get it.
It's terrible.
I don't get it. Oh, Emily the Strange, very good. Curiosity Stream is a great place for HD documentaries.
Yeah. And so, anyway, my plug is 300 hertz TVs solve this problem, right? 300 hertz TVs, you can play a 25, 24, and 30 and 60 frames per second content, and they all play. But whether anybody will care enough to make a 300 hertz TV, maybe one day it won't matter. It'll be so easy to go up there from 240 that they won't even care. But that would be a universal refresh rate.
Yeah,
because I watch these UK TV shows that I get on Blu-ray, and there's judder on long pans because they're doing a standards conversion.
Yeah,
it's
exactly
brutal.
right.
It's brutal.
I totally agree.
Yeah, the U.S. always has to be different. Emily says that's
yep. Afraid so.
Ugh.
That's a good question, Dr. Mack. What then about DVDs and Blu-rays having extra content, which the streamers don't have? I think we're about to go though. You know what? We're going to start right back into the phone calls here. I say Louis from Orange County is next. Louis, are you with us?
Yes, Scott. How you doing?
Good. How about yourself?
Good. You helped me greatly yesterday with that antenna, with the FM antenna.
Oh, good.
After that call, I thought I heard you talking about a higher quality CD, and I believe you called it FM CD.
No, it was called SACD, which
FA?
it stands for it stands for Super Audio CD. And it was meant to be the successor of the CD. But then a little thing called online music distribution came along and pretty much killed it. Before it even got started. Then there was also a format war between SACD and DVD audio. Yes, exactly. And format wars, man, they will kill things quicker than you know what. But SACD is still around. DVD audio kind of isn't. It kind of went away. But SACD is still around. You can still buy some. And they do offer greater audio specs than CD does. They'll go higher in frequency. They'll go greater in dynamic range.
How do they compare to, well, currently some of these groups are putting out their music on Blu-ray.
Yes.
How do they compare to Blu-ray?
Well, they use a different technology, which is very interesting. Blu-ray, you can get something called Blu-ray audio, which takes most of the space on a Blu-ray and stores audio on it. And you can store a lot of audio on a Blu-ray, which is 25 or 50 gigabytes. And they use an audio encoding process called PCM, which stands for Pulse Code Modulation. Whereas SACD uses a different type of audio encoding called DSD, Direct Stream Digital. Now, PCM is we kind of understand what it is. That's what CD uses. It's just that Blu-ray audio uses greater specs. So each sample of the digital audio on a CD is 16 bits long. On a Blu-ray audio, it can be 24 bits long. The sampling rate of CD audio is 44.1 thousand times a second. And on a Blu-ray audio, can be typically 96 kilohertz or 96,000 times per second. So that gives you a greater frequency range and a greater dynamic range on the Blu-ray. On an SACD, they use DSD, which is a 1-bit system. Each sample is only 1 bit, but they do it 2.8 million times a second. And they claim that gives you a higher fidelity, which is a little misleading because what they do actually is that they kind of push the noise into the ultrasonic range, that is over 20,000 hertz, which is as high as humans can hear. Most of us can't even hear that high. I know I can't. You probably can't. Nobody but babies really can hear that high. Still in all, those of us who care about audio quality, we want maybe to have frequencies above there because maybe they can be perceived in some other way than directly by hearing. This is a very big topic of debate. But DSD tends to push the noise into that just above 20 kilohertz frequency range, and so you don't really I don't think you get much of an advantage. There are plenty of people who will disagree with me vehemently, and I know I'll probably get excoriated in the chat room for it, but that is my opinion on the subject.
Well, the bottom line is the best I've ever heard in my life was the old analogs in the 60s and 70s.
You mean like vinyl?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. And there are plenty of people these days who say we need to go back to vinyl. That's the best possible quality. And interestingly, vinyl has the potential. I'm talking about LPs now, right? Black vinyl LPs.
An analog.
And it's analog. It's analog, yes. And there is the potential to get up to 30, 40, 50,000 hertz of frequency response. Now, you don't have as much dynamic range. I forget what vinyl is, but it's typically I think it's probably in the 60, 70 decibel range for dynamic range. CDs are 90. And Blu-ray audio is 100 and something, 144, I think, ultimately. There you get into the problem of, well, what's your listening environment? If you're listening in the car, you got all kinds of noise. You got a very high noise floor, so that dynamic range doesn't matter. You can't hear it. But anyway, that vinyl, it has its adherence, no question about it. And analog has its adherence. People say it just sounds better, warmer, richer. They have all kinds of names to describe why it's better. And you may be among them, and more power to you. But I will tell you this, to get a good turntable ain't cheap.
No, that I know. I had one. And I sold it in a garage sale before I realized what I was doing.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
But the new albums they're pressing now are all digitally messed.
Yes.
They're not the same as that's different.
That's true. And even if they record to an analog tape, which is becoming very rare, they'll have to pass it through digital processing. And then
it's not the same punch.
Well, and there are people who are trying to work on, how can we add the analog character back into a digitally recorded sound? And some of them pass the microphone through a tube-based preamp, for example, to give it a tube warm sound, that kind of thing.
Right. I understand that because I go back to the Macintosh tubes in the 60s.
Yeah, sure.
There was something different about them. There's no doubt about it.
Yep. Crucial Wax in the chat room is saying vinyl is less accurate than CDs on every measure. Just because it's analog doesn't mean it's accurate. And that's true. We were talking yesterday about tubes versus solid state. And solid state is more accurate. But tubes have a warm sound that people like. It's an emotional response. And so that's why we still have tube equipment.
Yes. The last question I would have for you is I have 1990s ADCOM high-end amplifiers and preamps.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 100 hours on them. They're brand new.
Oh, wow.
Would it be sensible to purchase the Andrew Jones, the Elip products that he's making?
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
What models would you suggest for that kind of power?
Well, how much power are we talking about?
I can't even remember, but it's extremely high. I think the models I have are one under the highest they made those years. I'm going to guess somewhere what they call 100, maybe to 150 watts per channel.
Yeah, I don't think you'd have any trouble at all. Andrew Jones now works for a company called ELAC, E-L-A-C.
Okay, ELAC, E-L-A-P?
C, as in Charles.
E-L-A-C.
E-L-A-C. And the speakers that he makes for them are phenomenal for the money. They're not very expensive. But they're super great. And there's a whole thing I could get into about amplifier power and speakers. And you can drive speakers with more amplifier power than they say they need, because generally speaking, you're not using all the amplifier power that is available from that amp. So I'd say you'd have no trouble at all. Thanks so much for the call. It's Scott Wilkinson, the home theater geek, filling in for Leo Laporte, the tech guy, back for our last segment after this.
You're out.
Is it truly the last segment?
It is.
Wow.
Can you believe it?
Radio comes at you fast.
Yep, absolutely does. It absolutely does. So yeah, one more call. Let's see. Who shall we make? Well, maybe we might be able to get two calls in. I don't think I have any other. Let's see. Yeah, let's go with Jimmy with this microphone on his saxophone. Okay.
Quickly scan your photo collection in a handy way with Epson's innovative Fast Photo Scanner. With Fast Photo, you can scan thousands of photos.
Okay, Shure, Sennheiser, Audio Technica. I was wondering if Countryman makes instrument mics. I know they make voice mics. Let's see here. Applied Microphone Technology. I don't know them. Yeah, it's going to be Shure, Sennheiser, Audio Technica.
The usual suspects.
The usual suspects. Yep. Let's see what Amazon says. Amazon says Pile. Okay, I have a Pile audio mic mixer, actually. Audio Technica. Samson. I'm not a real fan of Samson.
No. I have opinions about microphones now. It's weird. That's what happens when you get into podcasting. I used to be just a writer and an editor. I had opinions about keyboards. Now I have opinions about microphones too.
Nady. Nady.
Oh,
that's another name that's good. So what are your opinions on microphones?
Oh, I've been through, USB, various low-cost USB, and then the XLR microphones, and getting an interface for them, and all these things that I just never had to worry about before. But
now you do.
Now that I do this as part of my job, I have to use the. So I used a blue. JJ's asking. I used a Blue Yeti for a long time. I think it's still one of the best. There's also an Audio Technica ATR USB that is an XLR and USB mic, and it's like $50, and it sounds really good. I think that may be the best low-cost podcasting mic right now.
Wow. Okay, that's cool.
And then above that, then you're into XLRs basically, and then you've got to buy an interface, and so then you got to. I did a comparison of cheap USB interfaces. You can get a decent USB interface for $100 for XLR. I have the one I use is more expensive than that. It's the
here we go.
We're coming back.
Yep. Oh man, can you believe it? It's our last segment of the day.
It's flown by. Those times. Remember back when our caller thing didn't work? That was like so long ago.
That was like ancient history.
I know. Now we're all rolling.
We're totally rolling. And thanks so much to the Premier Radio guys for coming to our rescue.
Saved our bacon.
Saved our bacon big time. So just to remind you, I'm Scott Wilkinson, the home theater geek and editor of avsforum.com, which I do want to give a little plug to. avsforum.com is the world's largest online community of AV enthusiasts, over 1 million members, free to join, and you can ask questions there and get a plethora of opinions. Two audio files, 3 opinions is generally how it goes.
Yeah, that's the math. And I'm Jason Snell. I write about Apple and other technology stuff at sixcolors.com, and you can listen to my podcasts about technology and space and other things at relay.fm, and my pop culture podcast at theincomparable.com.
Wow, that's so cool. You've got a wide variety of stuff you cover.
I'm doing a lot of stuff now. Now that I'm working for myself, I got a lot of projects going on. Lots of things in the hopper.
Yeah, well, that's the blessing and the curse of creative people, isn't it?
It's good to work out of my garage, but I'm a very busy person.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for being here.
It's great being here.
All 3 hours with me. And we've got another call. Let's see if we can get 1 or 2 more in. I believe it is, well, now I can't find it exactly, but he had a question about saxophone mics. Who am I talking to here?
Hello?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Howdy, this is Jimmy.
Jimmy, of course. Hey, Jimmy. How you doing, man?
Well, my jaw is wired shut, so I'm talking like a ventriloquist.
Oh, no!
Well, listen, I'm going to make this short as possible. Here's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make my voice and my harmonica sound exactly like, let's say, a Hammond B3 organ or a saxophone or something like that. And I've tried a Roland, I think it's called a 1010, a G1010 or something, that was made in the 90s. And I plugged that into a box that had a bank of sounds that was made specifically for keyboards. And it actually worked, but there was a huge latency problem.
Yeah. Are you talking about the Roland G10?
G10, yeah, Roland G10. That was it. Yeah.
Okay, that is basically I believe it's a guitar to MIDI interface, or possibly probably a pitch to MIDI interface.
Right, pitch to MIDI, but it had, if I remember right, it had a plug there for a vocal mic.
Right.
It might have just been a 1/4 inch. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But at any rate, it did work. I took it to Guitar Center and I hooked it up to one of their boxes. Both of these things were made in the 90s, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a huge latency problem.
Yeah.
So is there anything I can use on stage that can get the same effect?
Sadly not. Not that I know of. I'm going to ask the chat room if they might know of something, but in my previous life, I actually was in this industry. I worked for Roland for a while, and I was at Electronic Musician for 10 years. I was the technical editor. And pitch to MIDI conversion is basically you take a microphone, you sing into it or play into it, it goes into a box like this, it gets converted into MIDI data, which is
right.
And then sent off to a synthesizer, and you can make the synthesizer sound like anything you want.
Right.
But there is a latency issue, and I have never heard of any device that overcomes that latency issue, because it takes a certain amount of processing for a computer, which is essentially what this is, to identify what pitch you're putting into it. And it makes it even harder if it's a complex waveform. It's easier with, say, a flute or something. You can probably pick up what pitch it is quicker, what frequency it is, than you can with something complicated like a harmonica or a voice. It takes some time to say, for the computer to say, oh, that's a middle C. And then I'm going to throw out a middle C in MIDI towards the synthesizer.
Well, my thought was that because the Roland G10, is from the 90s, maybe they make something now where the GPU in it is a lot faster.
They might. They might.
And
let me see if I can find something. Pitch to MIDI converter.
And if there's not, is there a place I can get a device custom made?
Well, you could potentially get something custom made, but you're running up against the laws of physics.
Yeah.
You cannot change the laws of physics, as Scotty would say. And it takes a certain amount of time to detect what pitch is being played into that microphone and convert that into a MIDI message.
Right.
So,
well, I know that I think it's Roland also makes the guitar synthesizer.
They do.
And the latency has gotten almost non-existent now.
Well, then there might be a way to modify the guitar synthesizer, the pitch to MIDI, guitar to MIDI converter to accept a microphone input.
Yeah, but the problem with that is that works on the vibration of the strings,
correct,
whereas I have metal reeds.
Right, exactly. And
I do know this. I know accordions. They do make MIDI accordions.
They do.
And yes, and they can sound exactly like an organ or a saxophone if they want to.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking online here for pitch to MIDI. And there's one website called Gearsluts, GEARSLUTZ.com. And somebody asked about pitch to MIDI devices, and the company that has been coming up here a little bit is Sonus, SONUUS. And SONUSONN or W? W, not W, but double. So it's S.
Okay.
SONUUS. Music products in the UK, and it looks like they have it's a MIDI guitar converter. I'm not sure I can see a voice to MIDI converter or just simple pitch to MIDI, general pitch to MIDI converter. But that's what you want.
Right, exactly.
I honestly don't know what the state of the art is there. I mean, it's not a very big market, so I can't imagine companies spending a lot of time and money on developing it. The best one that ever was called the Fairlight Voice Tracker. And if you could find one of those, mean, they don't make them anymore. They have them for a long time, but maybe you can find one on eBay or something. And that was the best one I ever tried. And
was there a huge latency problem?
Not as much, but it was expensive. It was like thousands of dollars when it was out.
You know, I came across one of these on eBay, and I think they wanted like $300 for it.
Oh, well, it might be worth a try then, if it works.
I didn't have the money for it at that time.
Yeah.
I do now, but if I can find another one like that, maybe that's what I should get.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, beautiful. All right. Well, thank you for answering my question.
Sure. My pleasure. Good luck.
Okay. You guys have a sunny day.
Hey, thanks. You too. All right, we got time for another question. Who have we got?
Is this Ray?
Ray. Hey, Ray. Scott Wilkinson, the home theater geek, and Jason Snell, the Apple geek. How you doing?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you sound great.
Awesome. Okay. So let me give you real quick. I have a 65-inch smart TV, 5.1 surround sound. I got sound bar. I stream a lot. I have, all the different, cox cable, all that. So I got 3 or 4 different controllers.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that. Nothing ever seems like it interfaces all the time.
Oh, you're not alone, man.
So I'm basically, about a month from now, when all the TV prices drop like crazy, I'm going to buy another TV, like a 4K.
Yep.
And I'm really interested, and I bought the Echo, but if it works, it sounds like it's going to hopefully, at least you read that, I want your opinion of being able to control the sound of the TV off of voice and all that, or is that the way? I hate all these controllers. I want to try to get down to, the Echo maybe doing all the sound.
Well, I don't know much about that.
Now, the Echo actually has sort of limited controls right now, and you need another... You basically need another device to bridge it. Like Logitech makes.
I love the Logitech Harmony remotes. You can get one Logitech Harmony remote and it can control all your stuff very easily. That's the one I absolutely recommend.
And they now make one that has its own IR emitter that's separate from the controller. So you basically have an RF thing, so you don't need to point it anywhere.
Right.
And it talks to the RF, and you can program that with an Amazon Echo.
Hey, thanks so much for the call. Jason Snell, thank you so much for being here.
It's been a pleasure, Scott. Thanks.
It's Scott Wilkinson, the home theater geek, filling in for Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Tune in next week for Leo Comes Back. Bye. Geek out.
Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, it's just the tip of the iceberg. We do nearly 30 shows on the Netcast network. It's called TWIT, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on Mac Break Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. You even get your daily dose of tech news with Tech News Today. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.